subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis. Crossing over to the Shinigami world, Uehara Shiraha awakens the mission system. As soon as he landed in Rukongai, he obtained the bug skill shadow clone technique. As soon as he joined the Shinagawa Academy, he completed a special mission, obtained the S-level stand white album, and mastered the power of absolute zero. From then on, he aspired to become a ruthless mission machine. Captain? Not interested. World destruction? None of my business. Spirit King? Not even a dog. Chapter 1. Traveling through Siriidei. I just want to lie down and do tasks when I work for 9 to 5 Soul Society. Siriidei. First Team Barracks. Listening to the sound of the soldiers' enthusiastic training, Uehara Shiraha stretched and slowly got up. After slowly putting on the Death Tyrant suit, he habitually opened the task panel and took a look. Sure enough, today's task has been refreshed. Visiting an old friend daily task. Today's wind is very noisy. It's a good day for drinking. You decide to invite a friend to drink and chat. Reward. Random attribute +2. Simple panel, simple task, good reward. I can only say that it is worthy of his system. The same Buddhist system, the same salted fish. In his previous life, Uehara Shiraha was just an ordinary worker. More than 20 years ago, he inexplicably traveled to the Shinigami world and became a Rukongai boy. Uehara Shiraha is not unfamiliar with the Shinigami manga. In Soul Society, there are a large number of spirits living. Without Ryatsu, they're just lonely ghosts and may be annihilated at any time. With Ryatsu, you can become a Shinigami. Ryatsu, powerful Shinigami, can even live for thousands of years and become the ruling class of Siriidei. However, Uehara Shiraha knows that even if he learns Bankai, becoming a Shinigami captain is not necessarily safe. After all, in the original work, Soul Society is also full of disasters. Aizen is over, and the founder of the Quincy and Pirate King, Yuhabak, is back. Shinigami died one after another, and the strongest Shinigami, Captain Yamamoto, died. If it weren't for Kurosaki Ichigo's sudden burst and a miracle, Soul Society would have been gone. So in this dangerous world, you must have the power to protect yourself. Fortunately, after crossing, Uehara Shiraha has the talent of Ryatsu and can become a Shinigami, and his talent is not bad. More importantly, as a crossover, Uehara Shiraha cheated. After crossing, he activated a task system with a simple panel and no intelligence. This system is very simple, and the tasks are also simple. The system only provides 2 types of tasks. One is a daily task like visiting an old friend. This kind of daily task is once a day. Random rewards such as Ryatsu and ability proficiency. The other is a special task that is triggered randomly. The rewards for special tasks are more generous, and they will reward abilities and equipment from the world of animation and film. For example, when Uehara Shiraha just crossed over to Rukongai, he triggered the special task, Visit Rukongai. After completing the first special task easily, he obtained the bug skill shadow clone technique in the Hokage world. With the system, Uehara Shiraha confidently joined the Spiritual Arts Academy and became a preparatory Shinigami. Then, he began to brush daily tasks leisurely and used Shadow Clone to take classes from time to time. In a blink of an eye, more than 20 years have passed, and Uehara Shiraha's strength and status are no longer what they used to be. On the surface, Uehara Shiraha's talent strength is slightly worse than that of geniuses such as Ikamura Jin, Shiba Kaien, and Byakuya Kachiki. But in fact, the strength on the surface is just the tip of the iceberg of all his strength. Thinking of this, Uehara Shiraha opened his character panel. Name, Uehara Shiraha. Position, 7th seat of the 1st Squadron Ryatsu. 3rd class spiritual power, captain level, Zanpakuto. Splitting Void, 2nd stage, Shurkai, Zanpakuto. Vice captain level, White Hits. Senior officer level, Kid. Captain level, Shumpa. Vice captain level abilities. 1. Shadow clone technique, B-level ability, Mastery 2. Stand, White Album, S-level ability, Grandmaster 3. Breathing technique, Breath of the Sun, B-level ability, Proficiency. Items 1. Disguise glasses, B-level item, Kryptonian creation 2. 5 Thunder Curse, C-level item, Cultivation Talisman 3. Death Gloves, D-level item, Extraordinary creation. The levels of abilities and items are D-level, C-level, B-level, A-level, S-level, SR level, and EX level from low to high. The proficiency of abilities is Entry, Proficient, Grandmaster, Mastery, Perfection, and Perfection. After joining the Spiritual Arts Academy, Uehara Shiraha completed a special mission by the way and obtained the S-level stand White Album. White Album is a non-substantial stand and is the stand of Kachiyu, a member of the assassination team in the 5th part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Its ability is to create ultra-low temperatures, freeze the air to form external armor, and even reach absolute zero to freeze everything. 3 years after obtaining the sealed state, Uehara Shiraha successfully Shurikai and awakened Zanpakuto Splitting Void. The Shurikai ability of Splitting Void is similar to Kimui, the eye technique of Tsuchiken, and it is the complete version of the left and right eyes combined. Because there are too many shady old men in Soul Society, Uehara Shiraha announced that his Zanpakuto is called White Season, and his ability is ultra-low temperature, which can freeze the surrounding objects. Because he completed Shurikai at the Shin Spiritual Academy, Uehara Shiraha was named a genius and successfully joined the first team as the top graduate. As the direct team of the captain, the first team has the highest status and the best treatment and the most intense competition. In order to show their military strength, several first-team officers specially invited Uehara Shiraha, the genius, to fight. Uehara Shiraha, who wanted to lie down, dealt with it casually, but before he could use any strength, the opponent lay down. Then, he inexplicably became the 7th seed of the first team, which can be regarded as a small high-level in Godi I-13. After all, there are probably hundreds of Shinigami in a squad, and it is the first squad. To be a chief officer and the 7th chief officer is definitely a good player. However, Uehara Shiraha has no idea of going further. He has enjoyed enough of the 996 blessing in his previous life. In this life, Uehara Shiraha just wants to quietly brush tasks and live a peaceful life. So it is impossible to work overtime, not in this life. If you have this time, you might as well find Kairaku Shunsui, the LSP, to have a drink and complete your daily tasks. Uehara Shiraha walked out of the squad room leisurely. His leisurely look is in sharp contrast to the chief officers who are working hard next to him. Seeing Uehara Shiraha, several chief officers are helpless. Uehara Shiraha has proved his genius with his strength. Genius Shinigami always have privileges. Ordinary soldiers look at this young 7th chief officer with admiration, awe, and envy. He has become the chief officer of the 1st Division before he is 40, and is said to be on good terms with big shots like the captain of the 8th Division. He is from Rukongai, but is stronger than those noble Shinigami. This is really inspiring. In fact, in the Kami space exclusive to Splitting Void, for Shadow clones are practicing the Zenkwang Guizu without stopping. As a time traveler, Uehara Shiraha naturally knows how buggy the Shadow clone technique is. Although Shadow clone is only a B-level ability, its auxiliary effect is no less than that of an S-level ability. This is the exclusive plug-in of Prince Naruto, and it can be called a magical skill in terms of practice and learning. After the Shadow clone is released, the main body will inherit the experience memory of the clone, so it can be used to practice the 4 basic skills of Shinigami's Zenkwang Guizu. The skilled Shadow clone technique can split into 1 Shadow clone, 2 Grandmaster level, and 4 Grandmaster level. This is equivalent to having 4 more clones that can be practiced indefinitely. With this skill alone, Uehara Shiraha is confident that he can practice Zenkinkazu to ultimate. It takes a long time to master the Zenkinkazu of a Shinigami, and ordinary Shinigami need hundreds or even thousands of years to achieve it. The reason why Uehara Shiraha only took more than 20 years to complete the journey that other Shinigami would have taken a lifetime is all due to his own efforts. Shadow Clone, AFK, Chapter 2. Angry Lisa, the girl with glasses in the room, sensing Shadow Clone who was concentrating on practicing in the space. Uehara Shiraha's expression became more relaxed and indifferent. He walked briskly, and several Shunpa came to the 8th Division station. The duties of the 1st Division are to lead the 13th Division, convey the resolutions of Central 46, and hold routine meetings. The 8th Division is responsible for organizing and collecting intelligence, counting the information of Rukongai 80 District and the information and intelligence of other divisions, which is equivalent to the eyes and ears of the 1st Division. Therefore, the connection between the 1st Division and the 8th Division is very close. Therefore, a full-time liaison officer is needed. Uehara Shiraha is the person responsible for contacting the 8th Division. Over the years, Uehara Shiraha naturally had a lot of contact with the captain of the 8th Division, Kairaku Shunsui. The two found that they were very compatible in terms of personality, temperament, hobbies, etc. So, they gradually became good friends. After a few visits, Uehara Shiraha became familiar with Shunsui and often went out to drink wine. Of course, unlike Kairaku Shunsui, the LSP, Uehara Shiraha was only here to research the customs and culture of Soul Society and complete daily tasks. On the way, Uehara Shiraha had no problems and came to the captain's office of the 8th Division with ease. Seeing Uehara Shiraha, Kairaku Shunsui pretended to be busy and greeted him enthusiastically. "Bayu, you are here? What did you say, drink?" "No, Lisa will be angry." "Why did you open the wine?" "That is the best sake. I got it from the old man in the mountain with great difficulty. So let's say, only drink 1 glass, no more." Half a day later, finally, after finishing her business outside, Yamura Lisa hurried back to the 8th Division. Then, she found that the eyes of the soldiers were a little bit wrong. Yamura Lisa's heart stomped. Could it be? It's that guy again. Thinking of this, Yamura Lisa rushed into Kairaku Shuinsue's office. Then she saw her captain singing an indecent tune with drunken eyes. And that damn Uehara Shiraha was smiling, looking relaxed. Looking at these two drunkards drinking and having fun, thinking of how busy she was just now, Yamura Lisa couldn't help but clench her fists. Hard fists. Half of the reason why she was so busy was because these two people neglected their duties and were openly lazy. This made the usually calm and mature Yamura Lisa couldn't help but shout, "Captain, please be responsible. And now it's working time, no drinking." Facing the angry Yamura Lisa, Uehara Shiraha skillfully began to shirk responsibility. "It's none of my business. I just opened the wine." Kairaku Shunsui smiled awkwardly. "Isn't it by you who came? I was happy for a moment, so I will punish myself with 3 cups, and it won't happen again." The weak and quiet girl with glasses and pigtails was like a demon at this time, and a terrifying low pressure was revealed all over her body. "You too, stop it." Seeing that Yamura Lisa took out all the Zampakit iron dragonflies, Uehara Shiraha chose to run without hesitation, and he left with a Shunpa. As for Kairaku Shunsui, who kept begging for mercy and held behind him, he just wished for good luck. "If my friend dies, I will live with you." Anyway, the wine was drunk, the fish was caught, and the mission was completed, so it was perfect. Just after leaving the 8th Division, Uehara Shiraha received a system prompt. "Congratulations on completing the daily mission, and get reward Ryatsu +1, Sun breathing proficiency +1. After 2 attribute points, Uehara Shiraha's Ryatsu has been slightly improved. In the Shinigami world, Ryatsu is everything. Shinigami's battle is a Ryatsu battle. The strong Ryatsu can dominate the weak Ryatsu, and even a glance can make the weak disappear into ashes. For example, the big boss Aizen Conquerors crushed Guya by relying on absolute Ryatsu. So in the Shinigami world, as long as the Ryatsu is strong enough, it can really do whatever it wants. And the stronger the Ryatsu, the longer the life of the Shinigami. The longer it lives, the more tasks Uehara Shiraha can complete, and the Ryatsu will become stronger and live longer. This forms a perfect closed loop. Even though Uehara Shiraha's Ryatsu talent is not as good as Aizen's pervert, but through the mission rewards, his Ryatsu can be infinitely enhanced without any limit. This is the realm that the big boss Aizen dreams of. In addition, the mission rewards just now also improved the proficiency of sun breathing. In an instant, Uehara Shiraha has a lot more understanding of the 12 sword forms of sun breathing. Just completing a daily mission, his strength has increased a lot. This is the power of the mission system. As long as Uehara Shiraha lives long enough and then brushes the mission step by step, he will naturally become stronger. In the Shinigami world, the 20th level spiritual power is an ordinary team soldier. Only the 10th level spiritual power and above are qualified to serve as a chief officer. At least the 8th level spiritual power can be Shurikai. The 4th and 5th level spiritual power is the vice captain level. The 3rd level spiritual power is the ordinary captain level. More importantly, Shinigami whose Ryatsu reaches the 3rd level spiritual power can live for 1,000 years. Just relying on daily tasks, Uehara Shiraha can easily brush all abilities to the maximum level. Can you resist my move? The power of 1,000,000 daily tasks? Office of the Captain of the 8th Division. Kairaku Shuinsue's eyes became much clearer. Yaimura Lisa, the vice captain of the 8th Division, is becoming more and more proficient in the physical sobering up. At this time, Yaimura Lisa looked at the direction where Uehara Shiraha left and said bitterly, "You ran fast. It's a bargain for you." Kairaku Shunsui sighed. "I didn't expect your relationship to be so good. It's good to be young." Although Uehara Shiraha was born in Rukongai, his appearance and temperament are better than those of Byakuya Kichiki, Shiba Kaien, and other heirs of great nobles. Therefore, in Siriidii, Uehara Shiraha is very popular and in high demand. Many female Shinigami favor the handsome Uehara Shiraha, and it seems that the vice captain is also attracted by him. "We're just ordinary book friends, don't get me wrong." Yaimura Lisa adjusted her glasses, looking extremely calm. Yaimura Lisa often goes to the bookstore to buy and read books. But now Yaimura Lisa is still a serious literary girl, not yet dazzled by the photo idol collections of the world, and she only reads serious books. Then, Uehara Shiraha would come to the bookstore from time to buy books, and they became familiar with each other. Kairaku Shunsui was surprised and said, "Really? Just an ordinary book friend?" Yaimura Lisa looked at Kairaku Shunsui with the eyes of looking at pests, then shook her braids and left directly. Chapter 3, the 7th Special Mission in front of the 8th Division's base. Although it was still early, Uehara Shiraha had already started thinking about where to go to start his exciting nightlife. Then, Uehara Shiraha saw a soldier from the 8th Division reporting something to a familiar girl Shinigami. The slim girl with glasses holding a book was the 10th seat of the 8th Division, Ayase Nanao. She was also the niece of Kairaku Shunsui and a good friend of Uehara Shiraha. Like Lisa, they met through reading books. Soon, the soldier from the 8th Division, Shuinpo, left, leaving Ayase Nanao alone. Uehara Shiraha stepped forward to say hello. However, seeing Ayase Nanao's serious expression, Uehara Shiraha asked curiously, "What happened?" Hearing Uehara Shiraha's question, Ayase Nanao said solemnly, "Uehara Nanao, something happened in Rukongai." The technicians of the 12th Division just discovered that a large number of Rukongai civilians have disappeared in the past month. The 12th Division has reported the information to the Captain General. Just now, the investigation advance team composed of 10 Shinigami has set off. Now, all the divisions know about this. Although the civilians in Rukongai are actually consumables, the large number of deaths will still attract the attention of Godei 13. Because the number and strength of the spirits in Soul Society, the present world, Hueco Mundo, and Hell must be maintained at the same level, and there cannot be more or less, otherwise the entire Shinigami world may collapse. That's why the Captain General sent 10 Shinigami soldiers to investigate the matter at once. Hearing Ayase Nanao's description, Uehara Shiraha instantly thought of something. It's about time. Just at this time, The system also sent a new prompt. Witness the birth of Visored, Special Mission 7. On the night of the full moon, someone in the Rukongai district is conducting secret scientific research. You decide to find out and witness the birth of Visored with your own eyes. Reward: random ability or props. Daily tasks can steadily improve strength, which belongs to the long-term and long-term. Special tasks can make you rich overnight. If you are lucky, you can get EX-level abilities and become invincible directly. However, special tasks need to be triggered. According to Uehara Shiraha's summary, the probability of triggering is highest when participating in the plot. So before becoming invincible, Uehara Shiraha is not going to change the plot drastically. After receiving a special task, Uehara Shiraha was very happy and comforted Isanao very intimately. Don't worry, nothing will go wrong. Under the wise leadership of the captain and the 46th room, our soul society will surely prosper and be peaceful and harmonious. Isanao stared at Uehara Shiraha. She always felt that Uehara Shiraha's words were strange. The words were good, but when they came out of Uehara Shiraha's mouth, they tasted wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong. The two parted ways. After a stroll, Uehara Shiraha hummed a little song and returned to his residence in a happy mood. The treatment of the first team was very good. The chief officer could have his own house, and it also had a small courtyard. Although Uehara Shiraha's courtyard was not as big as that of other captains, it was enough for practicing the art of killing, but he usually practiced in the room. The reason is that he has set up a powerful kid barrier throughout the house. And it's not just one barrier, but several layers. Although the strength of these barriers is far inferior to the soul-blocking membrane, it is still no problem to block various surveillance methods. After all, the Technology Development Bureau has just been established, and Aizen's scientific research project has just reached a critical moment, and there are not so many black technologies available. Uehara Shiraha is so careful, not only to guard against the ambitious Aizen, but also to guard against the invisible empire. Yawatch's usurpation of the altar is still something. During the Thousand-Year Blood War, Captain Yamamoto performed the invincible Raijin Jakabankai in the last second, and was taken away by Yawatch in the next second. It can only be said that the person passed away peacefully, and the ashes were scattered. Arriving at his bedroom, Uehara Shiraha Ryatsu moved, and the splitting void on his waist immediately released a faint white light. In an instant, the whole room was shrouded by a layer of invisible space power. Now it's foolproof. In the room, Uehara Shiraha sat cross-legged, placed splitting void on his knees, and began his daily blade meditation. Shinigami's Zampakit is the core of the core, which is equivalent to the immortal's life weapon. Having a good Zampakit is so important. If Aizen didn't have a heaven-defying Zampakit like Kaika Suigetsu, he wouldn't be able to fool everyone. Of course, this is also because Aizen has terrifying Ryatsu and strength. In the hands of others, Kaika Suigetsu doesn't have the terrifying power of a group of Shinigami captains like the perfect hypnosis. After the Thousand-Year Bloody War, Tsuneshiro Tokunada used the artifact Yanra Kagami to replicate Kaika Suigetsu, but the power is simply heaven and earth compared to Aizen's Kaika Suigetsu, and it can't be compared at all. Of course, the strength of Zampakit is also related to proficiency. After all, Shinigami's Zampakit is the embodiment of the soul and is closely related to the Shinigami's spiritual will, personality, and experience. The practice of Zampakit and Bankai are actually the transformation and sublimation of Shinigami's spiritual will and even soul. Therefore, after Shirkai and Bankai, Shinigami's Ryatsu and strength will be greatly enhanced. Shinigami who master Bankai are not at the same level as ordinary Shinigami. Don't look at the original work. Bankai seems to be quite common. Kurosaki Buddha even learned Bankai in 3 days. It seems that Bankai is just that, but the truth is that every Shinigami who can Bankai is a big shot in Soul Society and Suriidei. Blade Zen is a way to practice Zampakit. This technique has been passed down in Soul Society for thousands of years. Blade Zen is not easy because it requires practitioners to be absolutely focused and concentrate all their energy on Zampakit. After reaching a high level, Blade Zen, Shinigami can communicate directly with his Zanpakuto, which is very beneficial for controlling Zanpakuto and Bankai. With Shadow Clone, Uehara Shiraha has no difficulty in mastering Blade Zen. He began to practice with his eyes closed. As Uehara Shiraha's mind sank, the snow-white splitting void shone, and a cold light suddenly appeared. His mind gradually synchronized with splitting void. After a period of practice, Uehara Shiraha's connection with splitting void became closer. Uehara Shiraha looked at the calming splitting void in his hand and nodded with satisfaction. The style of splitting void looks like an ancient long sword, with restrained divine light and condensed sword energy. Although Shinigami's Zanpakuto is called a sword, it has various forms after being released, including swords, spears, swords, halberds, axes, hooks and forks, and various strange weapons. In terms of style, Uehara Shiraha's style is not surprising. It can only be said to be simple and elegant. However, the ability of splitting void can be called a bug. Chapter 4 Perfect Zanpakuto Uehara Shiraha's splitting void comes from the system reward, which is the most suitable ability for him and has unlimited potential. Splitting void Shurikai has 2 stages, and the first stage Shurikai is permanent Shurikai, so his Zanpakuto can be said to be always in Shurikai state. Uehara Shiraha can enter the hollow state at any time and is not vulnerable to any attack. However, like Kimui, he cannot launch an attack when in hollow. Although it also consumes Ryatsu to maintain hollow, the consumption is relatively small. Under normal circumstances, with Uehara Shiraha's Jichei Kangxi Ryatsu, it is no problem to stay in hollow state for several days. Uchiha Obito can pretend to be a ghost in the ninja world with his hollow ability that can only last for 5 minutes. Not to mention his hollow without CD. The horror of splitting void can be imagined. And Uehara Shiraha can also perform the second stage Shurikai. However, the second stage Shurikai requires Uehara Shiraha to release it actively. The second stage of Shurikai is to overlap the space of splitting void with part of the real world, which can cut the space and hurt people invisibly. Then you can achieve the effect of Op Fruit Room Slaughterhouse and the effect of Kakashi's Kimui, or even more powerful. Therefore, whether it is Steel Skin, Ryatsu Defense, or Kid Barrier, they are all useless in front of the second stage of Shurikai Splitting Void and cannot provide any protection. When attacking, it is indestructible, and when defending, it ignores all attacks. This is Splitting Void. This is just the Shurikai state. Splitting Void will only be stronger after Bankai, but Uehara Shiraha's Bankai training has just started, and although his Ryatsu has reached the 3rd level of spiritual power, it is still not enough to support him to complete the Bankai training. However, Uehara Shiraha is not in a hurry. With the task system, Bankai is a matter of time. Seeing that it is getting late, Uehara Shiraha began to receive the results of today's Shadow Clone training. Under Uehara Shiraha's perception, a vast space came into his mind clearly. This is the exclusive space of Splitting Void. The space opened up by Splitting Void is as large as a large city. This is much larger than the Kamui space of Tsuchikun. The 4 Shadow Clone can practice as they please in this space, and there is no need to worry about insufficient space, even if they use some big moves. Then, Uehara Shiraha moved his mind. In the space, the Shadow Clone who was practicing the art of slashing immediately shattered and disappeared. Some memories and experiences of practicing the art of slashing also flooded into Uehara Shiraha's mind. He carefully experienced these memories and experiences and absorbed them all. Soon, Uehara Shiraha felt that his art of slashing had improved a little. This effect is similar to the slashing +1, rewarded by the system. Then Uehara Shiraha released the Shadow Clone who practiced Kid, Shuinpa, and white hits one by one. In this way, silently, his slashing fist and ghost walk were improved to a certain extent. If other Shinigami knew that Uehara Shiraha could become stronger even when lying down, even the captains would be very envious. After waking up the next day, Uehara Shiraha looked at the daily tasks, as usual. Walk, daily task. Take a walk after dinner and live to 99. You decide to stroll the streets and be a street urchin. Reward: random attribute +2. Seeing this task introduction, Uehara Shiraha couldn't help but complain in his heart. For Shinigami, living to 99 is not called longevity. It's called premature death. Daily tasks are so simple. They can be completed easily, and there is no penalty for failure. Get stronger easily and feel comfortable and at ease. Uehara Shiraha left his courtyard and prepared to complete the temporary task. Before leaving, he also went to see the vice-captain of the first team, Chur Sasakibe, the god-level Old Six. This white-haired and golden-eyed old man is not a simple character. Thousands of years ago, the ancestor of the Quincy, Yawatch, led a group of Quincy to invade Siriidii. Seeing that the entire Siriidii was about to end, it was Chur Sasakibe who climbed up from the pile of dead bodies and stabbed Yawatch in the back. Old Man Yamamoto took the opportunity to kill Yawatch with a knife. The two joined forces to save Soul Society. After that, Godii 13 grew stronger, and the prestige and influence of Captain Yamamoto also increased day by day. And Chur Sasakibe once vowed to serve under Captain Yamamoto for the rest of his life. So even though his strength and qualifications were sufficient, the old man still did not go to other squads to serve as captain and stay in the first squad. After meeting Chur Sasakibe, Uehara Shiraha reported all the intelligence he had recently obtained. He knew that some of this information was outdated or inaccurate, but the attitude should be taken, and the basic law should be followed when slacking off. You could be lazy in front of subordinates, but being diligent in front of leaders is the kingly way. As long as you often hang around in front of leaders, you are an excellent employee. Sure enough, Chur Sasakibe nodded with satisfaction and looked at Uehara Shiraha with a face full of satisfaction. It is said that the Uehara 7 seats are arrogant and do not do their jobs properly. Isn't this very diligent? As for going to the red light district to drink frequently, being a young man is not a big problem. But people like Kairaku are hopeless. At this time, Kairaku Shunsui, who was far away in the 8th squad, suddenly felt a chill. He wondered, did my lazy drinking and slacking off get exposed? That shouldn't be the case. The old man has long been used to it. Maybe I am too charming and there are girls who miss me. It's really annoying. Siriidii is located in the center of Soul Society. It is huge, about 130,000 square spirit miles, with a radius of about 365 spirit miles. You know, Karakura Town, with a population of 100,000, has a radius of only 1 spirit mile. So Siriidii is ridiculously large. It takes 40 days for an ordinary summoning body to walk around the periphery of Siriidii. The interior of Siriidii is arranged in a circle with huge streets. Its exterior is composed of walls made of murderous stones. The invisible waves released by murderous stones can decompose spiritual power. These waves form a circular shield that covers the entire Siriidii, thereby preventing other spirits from entering Siriidii. There are 4 gates in the east, south, west, and north, each of which is guarded by contemporary heroes. Ordinary civilians are not allowed to enter Siriidii. At this time, Uehara Shiraha was strolling on the street near the White Road Gate. The buildings here are very simple, mainly in gray and white, with tiles on the roofs, a typical Japanese architectural style. However, the environment is very good, with fresh air, green mountains, and clear water. And the closer to the center, the higher the concentration of spirit particles. Unconsciously, Uehara Shiraha has completed today's daily tasks. He received the rewards of Zanjutsu +1, Ryatsu +1. It feels good to be able to get stronger easily every day. Now, there's only the special task. Witness the birth of Visored on the task panel. The reason why Uehara Shiraha came to Beit Amin is to complete this special task. Chapter 5 Aizen is an honest man. Ikamara Jin, you can't bully honest people. As soon as he walked out of the White Gate, Uehara Shiraha saw a group of Shinigami also walked out of the White Gate and headed towards Rukongai. Each of these Shinigami was burly, and some of them had coxcomb hairstyles, looking like social people or bikers. On the back of their death suits were written the 4 characters. The leader was none other than the captain of a 9th Division, Mugiuruma Kinsei. In addition to this man, who was called the unit of Shinigami combat power, Uehara Shiraha also saw 2 other familiar faces. One was the vice captain of the 9th Division, Kuna Mishiro, a big-hearted, green-haired girl with a very sharp white hits. The other was hiding in the shadows, as if invisible, and was none other than the blind monk of the 9th Division, Tosen Kaname. At this time, Tosen Kaname was not wearing sunglasses and dreadlocks at the beginning of the story. Instead, he had the same afro as the captain of the 7th Division, Love Aikawa. Most of his face was covered by a white mask, revealing only his closed eyes. Of course, this mask was just an ordinary mask, not a hollow mask. Uehara Shiraha just glanced at them, and then left as if nothing had happened. He knew that Mugiuruma Kinsei was going to investigate the disappearance of Rukongai residents himself. And this was the beginning of the hollow incident. Silently, Aizen had cast a well-woven large net over the captains of Godei 13, and they were completely unaware of it. But this time, Uehara Shiraha was going to give Aizen a little surprise to increase his strength. On the street near the White Road Gate, Uehara Shiraha was strolling leisurely. At this moment, he frowned slightly and looked into the shadows. After noticing Uehara Shiraha's gaze, a silver-haired boy walked over from the shadows. The boy was wearing a Death Heejimin suit, with the 5th Division armband hanging on his right arm. At this time, the silver-haired boy looked at Uehara Shiraha and squinted his eyes and smiled softly. "Urakan, long time no see." Although the silver-haired boy was smiling, he gave people an inexplicable cold feeling, as if he was being stared at by Lion Majesty. "It's Ikamaru Jin. After so many years, you are still the same. You like to look at people with your eyes closed. This is probably a genius." When speaking, Uehara Shiraha sighed. He and Ikamaru Jin are indeed classmates. It's just that Ikamaru Jin graduated in 1 year and became the chief officer of the 5th Division on the day of graduation. And Uehara Shiraha took 6 years to graduate. So, Ikamaru Jin is a real genius, and Uehara Shiraha is just an ordinary hanger. Uehara-kun, you are still so interesting. Being teased by Uehara Shiraha, Ikamaru Jin's fox-like face, the smile is even more obvious. Although Ikamaru Jin and Uehara Shiraha have only been classmates for 1 year, but he still knew something about Uehara Shiraha. The reason was that he had never taken the usual path since the beginning of the academy. While others were practicing and studying hard, Uehara Shiraha would go fishing today, go shopping tomorrow, and even secretly go out to drink wine. Others thought that Uehara Shiraha was not motivated and wasted his talent. Ikamaru Jin felt that Uehara Shiraha seemed to have an inexplicable confidence. It was just a vague feeling, and even he himself could not be sure. However, Ikamaru Jin still cared about Uehara Shiraha. In the face of Ikamaru Jin's temptation, Uehara Shiraha laughed and said seriously, "I heard that Vice Captain Aizen thinks highly of you and promoted you to be a chief officer. You should know that Vice Captain Aizen is a rare honest man in Siriidii. Jin-san, you must work hard and never disappoint the expectations of an honest man." While saying strange things, Uehara Shiraha had already guessed the purpose of Ikamaru Jin's visit. Ikamaru Jin appeared here, most likely to keep an eye on Mugiuruma Kinsei and his group. However, given his cautious nature, he shouldn't have shown up. The reason why he showed up was probably to test him. Facing Ikamaru Jin's calm test, Uehara Shiraha dealt with it very easily. After hearing Uehara Shiraha's outrageous words, Ikamaru Jin just nodded with a smile and even showed that he was very grateful to Aizen. But when he spoke, Ikamaru Jin's eyes became a little deeper. He was a little confused. Is this Uehara Shiraha really only this level? After a fruitless attempt, Ikamaru Jin could only smile and wave goodbye to Uehara Shiraha. Rukongai, Mugiuruma Kinsei, and a group of Shinigami from the 9th Division were looking at the scattered death suits on the ground in shock. He had just rescued a kid named Hisagi Shuhai from Hollow. However, it was a little strange that there was no sign of the black cavity being opened nearby. Where did this hollow come from? Then, they found 10 empty and clean death suits. The number was exactly the same as the number of Shinigami in the advanced team. And these death suits were like complete shells, and the belts were all wrapped around the death suits. People can't help but wonder, how did the death suits come off? There were Tabi in the fallen sandals, as if their feet had suddenly disappeared. This scene was exactly the same as the missing civilians before. When the souls of Soul Society die, the clothes on their bodies will disintegrate into spirit particles and disappear together. Therefore, such strange events can only be defined as missing. After the advanced team Shinigami arrived, this phenomenon not only did not disappear, but spread to them. Thinking of this, Mugiuruma Kinsei felt uneasy and immediately issued an emergency order to several team members around him. Okijima, report to the 46th room immediately, saying that all 10 advanced team Shinigami are missing, and the way they disappeared is the same as the previous Rukongai residents. Fudo, you go to contact the 12th Division and ask them to send technicians to seal the scene immediately and investigate carefully. Kasaki, you ask everyone to get ready. We have to stay here tonight. After issuing the last order, Mugiuruma Kinsei looked firm. No matter who was playing tricks, don't think about bypassing our 9th Division to hurt innocent people. Except for Kuna Mishiro's heartless complaints, the other members of the 9th Division set up camp without hesitation and chose to advance and retreat with their captain. After a while, Fujidu brought news that the vice captain of the 12th Division, Hiyori, was on the way. As for the captain of the 12th Division, Uehara Shiraha, he was busy with secret technical research and therefore could not be present. After hearing this news, Mugiuruma Kinsei's expression finally eased. Soon the night came, and Mugiuruma Kinsei patrolled carefully again. When he returned to the tent, he found Kuna Mishiro sleeping soundly. Mugiuruma Kinsei shook his head. At this time, only the heartless Kuna Mishiro could sleep so soundly. While thinking, Mugiuruma Kinsei heard a scream from outside the tent. Chapter 6. Everyone is showing off. Only the boxers are getting beaten. Rukongai. Mugiuruma Kinsei heard the screams and rushed out of the tent with Zampicut in his hand. Then, he saw an extremely bloody scene. 2 members of the 9th Division who were on night watch fell to the ground, and their blood stained the ground red. And the member Fujido stood aside with Zampicut in his hand, motionless. The clear light of the full moon was bright and cold, but it could not extinguish the raging anger in Mugiuruma Kinsei's heart. These members stayed because they trusted him, but now they are all dead. Fudo, Mugiuruma Kinsei's eyes were bloodshot, and the Zampicut in his hand moved as he wished, and he began to shurikai. Destroy it. Cut off the wind. After shurikai, Mugiuruma Kinsei moved his feet and was about to launch an attack. However, he stopped immediately, because at this time, Fujido, who had just stood still, suddenly had blood gushing out of his neck. Then, Fujido fell to the ground. Seeing this strange appearance, Mugiuruma Kinsei reacted immediately. Fujido's Zampicut has no bloodline. It's not him who did it. The one who just screamed was not the team member on the ground, but Fujido. Thinking of this, Mugiuruma Kinsei's bad premonition became stronger. This is a trap for Shinigami, even for himself, the captain of the Shinigami. Wake you up. At this moment, Mugiuruma Kinsei thought that Kuna Mishiro was still sleeping, and he immediately became worried. He stepped back and planned to wake up Kuna Mishiro in the tent. At least let by leave first. However, at this time, Mugiuruma Kinsei only felt a dark in front of his eyes, and then quickly returned to normal. Before Mugiuruma Kinsei realized what happened, his body shook and his consciousness became blurred. He found that his body became weak, and a piercing pain suddenly came from his chest. Mugiuruma Kinsei looked down. It turned out that a narrow blade had pierced his chest from the back without knowing when. Mugiuruma Kinsei clenched the Zampicut in his hand, reluctantly looked back, and immediately his pupils shrank, and he said in an unbelievable tone, "It turned out to be you. Why?" The full moon in the sky continued to sprinkle the cold moonlight on the ground, quietly watching this tragic scene. At this moment, In the first team house, Uehara Shiraha played with the camouflage glasses in his hand, waiting patiently. Camouflage glasses grade, B grade type. Technology product ability. After wearing glasses, the appearance, image, ryatsu, temperament, voice, smell, and even the essence of the soul will be disguised as completely different from the original body. Introduction 1. This product is a Krypton creation, and the host will obtain it after completing Special Mission 5 Join Godai 13. 2. When I wear glasses, I am a harmless reporter, and when I take off glasses, I am a god on Earth. Uehara Shiraha plans to use this glasses to complete a special mission and do something by the way. Although it is only a B-level auxiliary prop, its ability is definitely not bad. The effect is comparable to Aizen's Kaika Sujetsu. After a while, Uehara Shiraha heard a hurried voice. Emergency call! Emergency call! An emergency has occurred. The captain of the 9th Division, Muguruma Kensei, and the vice captain, Kunimashiro Ryatsu, have suddenly disappeared. All division captains, please gather at the headquarters of the 1st Division immediately. Hearing this broadcast, Uehara Shiraha's heart moved. It's finally started. Now Muguruma Kensei and others have been tricked. The moment Uehara Shiraha had been waiting for has come. So, in the room, Uehara Shiraha first split a shadow clone. Before, he had removed all shadow clone. This shadow clone is the first shadow clone of the day. Without glasses, it can replace itself in Siri-IDI. This is sufficient proof of absence. Don't you think so, Aizen? In the room, the two Uehara Shiraha nodded to each other and smiled slightly. Then the original Uehara Shiraha put on glasses and suddenly became another person. The next second, splitting void began to release the power of space. Uehara Shiraha, whose image changed greatly, immediately entered the hollow state and moved to the space of splitting void. In the hollow state, Uehara Shiraha can freely enter and exit the splitting void space, thereby achieving a certain distance of space movement. It just consumes Ryatsu. However, Uehara Shiraha has the 3rd level spiritual power, so this consumption is nothing. The space was extremely empty, with only one corner containing many daily necessities. Among them were several sets of high-end fishing gear, 2 styles of clothes, shoes and socks, etc. Uehara Shiraha took the white windbreaker that he had prepared long ago and replaced the Death Tyrant suit on his body. Then, he took a small mirror and looked at himself. A handsome middle-aged man with black hair and frameless glasses appeared in the mirror. As expected of me, even if the image and temperament changed drastically, I was still so handsome, but I became a little shorter. Because the disguise image after wearing glasses is fixed, Uehara Shiraha had already prepared suitable clothes and shoes. He didn't even buy these clothes and shoes, but directly took them from a noble family. Even if you check, you can't find him. After all, you have to face Aizen, and the masters are fighting on the line, and the details are all in the details. The next thing is simple. When all the captains rushed to the headquarters of the 1st team, Uehara Shiraha, dressed in white, had already rushed to Rukongai with ease. In a hollow state, he can not only ignore various barriers, but also move in space. Along the way, Uehara Shiraha ignored all kinds of obstacles, barriers, patrolling Shinigami, and moved at a very fast speed. After a while, Uehara Shiraha passed through the soul-blocking membrane and arrived at Rukongai. This barrier that Godai 13 and the nobles trusted very much was useless in front of him. Under the moonlight, Uehara Shiraha's spiritual sense moved, and then he felt 2 strange Ryatsu. He moved his body and immediately rushed in that direction. At this moment, in the lobby of the headquarters of the 1st Division, a group of Shinigami captains knew the seriousness of the matter. This group of strong men at the top of the Shinigami became serious. Even Kairaka Shunsui, who was always frivolous and lazy, did not laugh, as usual. At this moment, the captain of the 8th Division had a serious expression and sharp eyes. In a short time, a team of elite soldiers lost contact, and even the Ryatsu of the captain and vice captain of the 9th Division suddenly disappeared. After this happened, except for the captain Yamamoto Genrisai, who could remain calm and indifferent. The other captains were a little panicked. On the one hand, they were worried and confused, and on the other hand, they really felt it was difficult. After all, this attack was too sudden and too strange. Especially the captain of the 12th Division, Uehara Shiraha. This doryman was keenly aware that something was wrong. It's just that he really couldn't get away just now. Otherwise, he would have gone to investigate in person. But it's too late to say anything now. Yamamoto Genrisai, holding a spiral pine cane, stood still, like an insurmountable mountain. The old man began to give orders in an orderly manner. Captain of the 3rd Division Torabashi Arjar, Captain of the 5th Division Hirako Shinji, Captain of the 7th Division Love Kawa, rush to the scene immediately and carry out rescue. Captain of the 2nd Division Shihoi Naruchi, stay on standby for the time being. Captain of the 6th Division Kachiki Jinrei, Captain of the 8th Division Kairaka Shunsui, and Captain of the 13th Division Shiryuka, the above three, follow me to guard Suriidi. Captain of the 4th Division Uno Hanaretsu, be prepared to receive the wounded. Chapter 7. Uehara Shiraha ignores Kaika Sujetsu, and the show begins after the 1st Division dispatched troops. The emergency rescue team was formed. There were 5 members in total, including Torabashi Arjar, Hirako Shinji, Ikawa Luo, Yamura Lisa, and Vice Kid Captain Hachijin. At the entrance of the 1st Division, Uehara Shiraha looked at the 5 people who hurried away and thought to himself, "It really is the same as what I remember. 3 Shinigami captains, 1 Shinigami vice captain, plus Grandmaster Kid and the extremely powerful Vice Kid Captain. Such a team is enough even for the expedition to Hueco Mundo, but unfortunately, you met Aizen, the hairspray hand." However, Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha was not too worried. Anyway, according to the original plot, although this group of people were forced to hollow and become members of Vizard, none of them died, and they just stayed in the real world for more than 100 years. For Shinigami, 100 years is about the same as 10 years for ordinary people. It is not a big deal, just like a big vacation. At this time, Kairaka Shunsui came out. His expression rarely became very serious. "Brother Shunsui, what's wrong? This is not like you." Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha asked knowingly. As for whether he would be seen through, he never thought about it. Although Shadow Clone developed by 2nd Hokage is only a B-level skill, it is indeed very buggy. In Hokage, let alone the Byakugan. Even the 6 paths level strongman, Tsuki Kagaya, can't tell the difference between Shadow Clone and the original body. Kairaka Shunsui looked up at Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha. At this moment, facing his friend Uehara Shiraha, the doubt that had been lingering in Kairaka Shunsui's heart for a long time blurted out. "What do you think of Aizen?" After saying that, he realized that he had said something wrong and shook his head. "Forget it. Maybe I thought too much." Hirako Shinji mentioned before that he had doubts about Aizen. Such a bad incident happened in Rukongai not long after. Kairaka Shunsui couldn't help but think about it. Is there something wrong with Vice Captain Aizen? Impossible? How could such a perfect person have any problems? Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha scratched his head and said in doubt. Hearing Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha's words, Kairaka Shunsui fell into thought and then said, "Follow me." After that, Kairaka Shunsui gave a shuanpa, and Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha behind him followed. After a while, the two came to the 5th Division's barracks. Then, Kairaka Shunsui saw Aizen, who happened to pass by. Aizen, with black frameless glasses and ordinary hairstyle, also politely saluted Kairaku Shunsui. In Kairaku Shunsui's eyes, this Aizen is flawless in appearance, voice, height, Zanpakuto, and Ryatsu. No matter how you look at it, this is Aizen. But in Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha's eyes, the other party is just a fake with a similar body shape to Aizen. This is Kaika Suigetsu's ability, absolute domination, control of the 5 senses, and even spiritual perception. At every opening ceremony and graduation ceremony of the Shin Academy of Spiritual Arts, Aizen would perform his Zanpakuto Shurikai and claim that Kaika Suigetsu was just a water-based Zampakit. Uehara Shiraha, who is familiar with the plot, naturally would not believe this nonsense. Usually, he uses Shadow Clone to attend classes and events, so he has never been hit by Aizen's Kaika Suigetsu. At this time, Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha also greeted the fake Aizen as if nothing had happened and said, "Vice Captain Aizen is still working so late, it's really hard. The devil is in the details." After that, Kairaka Shunsui and Uehara Shiraha left the 5th Division's dormitory. Kairaka Shunsui looked a little embarrassed. "It seems that Aizen is fine. I think I'm overthinking." If something like this happens, anyone would overthink it. Shadow Clone Uehara Shiraha felt that other Shinigami didn't think enough. They have lived for hundreds and thousands of years, but they were still able to develop under their noses, and in the end they were almost wiped out. I don't know if these captains have become lazy after so long, or if Aizen is too awesome. On the other side, Uehara Shiraha has arrived at the scene, waiting for the show to begin. In the Technology Development Bureau, Uehara Kisuke put on the latest invisibility cloak and rushed to the scene of the incident under the cover of night. At the same time, in West Rukongai 57 District, Saragaki Hiyori, who came to support the latest, was already in a tough battle. Her childlike body was already covered with wounds, and her childlike face was covered with sweat. Her usually aggressive golden braids were also drooping down. Looking at the badge on her left shoulder representing the vice captain of the 12th Division, she clenched her small tiger teeth with a firm expression. At this moment, an extremely huge black shadow came with a terrifying momentum. An extremely powerful cold Reiatsu swept the entire space like a raging wave. In an instant, Saragaki Hiyori was like being in a sea of blood and corpses. She felt the ominous, cold, violent Reiatsu again. This is the Reiatsu of the Hollow. But the humanoid hollow in front of her gave Hiyori a chilling sense of familiarity. Saragaki Hiyori didn't have time to think too much and instinctively burst out Reiatsu to cast Kid. Vacud 37, Hanging Star. She waved her right hand, and a light blue light formed a tight net. It enveloped the humanoid hollow that was rushing towards her. Swish! With a light sound, the humanoid hollow swung its claws and easily tore the blue net in front of it. Then, the humanoid hollow jumped high. The two fists wearing bone armor smashed down at Saragaki Hiyori fiercely. Before the fists fell, the violent gust of wind had already hit his face. The huge body of the humanoid hollow flying in the air blocked the cold moonlight, making Saragaki Hiyori's petite body look even smaller. The terrifying unknown Reiatsu blocked all of Saragaki Hiyori's escape routes. At this moment, Saragaki Hiyori, who did not dare to use all his strength, was in a dilemma and was about to be severely injured. At this critical moment, a somewhat lazy and cold voice came. "You only use Bakud to deal with the hollow. Hiyori, when did you become so gentle?" As the voice fell, a knife light flashed, instantly blocking the falling fists of the humanoid hollow and saving Hiyori. After one knife, Hirako Shinji burst out the captain-level Reiatsu with all his strength, forcing the humanoid hollow to retreat. Love Aikawa, Torabashi RJR, and Yamura Lisa followed closely behind. Grandmaster Kid, but Hachijin, who was not good at Shunpa, fell to the last and had not arrived yet. Uehara Shiraha, who was hiding in the splitting void space not far away, sensed the Reiatsu of Hirako Shinji and others. He breathed a sigh of relief. Finally here, although Uehara Shiraha set out with Hirako Shinji, he arrived a long time ago. He even had time to give himself a Gao Kikiang-style side bangs hairstyle. In this era, this can be regarded as leading the trend. Then, Uehara Shiraha began to calculate what kind of rewards or props he would get this time. Super Saiyan Blood is fine, 9 Magatama Rinnegan is also good. If it doesn't work, a 6-gem Infinite Gauntlet is also good. He is not picky. At this time, Hiyori, who escaped the disaster, did not curse Hirako Shinji as usual. "Baldy," she said in a depressed mood, "I can only use Bakud. I can't do anything else." Hirako Shinji and others were stunned when they heard this. Isn't it natural for Shinigami to kill hollows? What does it mean to be unable to do it? Chapter 8: The rescue team all failed, and Uehara Shiraha watched the show just when Hirako Shinji and the others were slightly stunned. A huge humanoid hollow approached. At this time, they finally saw the hollow clearly. Everyone was stunned again. Even though his body had grown several times larger, even though white bone armor had grown on his arms, and his face was completely covered by a white square bone mask. However, Hirako Shinji, Torabashi Arjar, Love, Aikawa, and Yamaralisa still recognized the humanoid hollow in front of them. Is this Kinsei? But this Ryatsu, this mask, is simply a hollow. Is this really Kinsei? The expressions of several people froze, and they were full of disbelief. Although they didn't want to believe that this hollow was Kinsei, the white Captain's Haori and the black 69 on his chest and abdomen had already revealed his identity. Whether it Kinsei or not, you must draw your sword. Hirako Shinji clenched the Zampakit in his hands with both hands. The humanoid hollow suspected to be Kinsei also exploded with a terrifying Ryatsu. The battle was about to start. As if thinking of something, Haori warned loudly, "Be careful, Hirako. Kinsei is very strange now." After the battle began, Hirako Shinji understood what Haori meant. Although Kinsei could not use Zampakit and had no reason, the bone armor had amazing defense and was extremely powerful, and the destructive power of a punch was amazing. Facing a former colleague with whom he had a good relationship, Hirako Shinji was also unwilling to go all out. Therefore, it was inevitable that he was restrained in the battle. Seeing that the situation was not right, Love Aikawa and Torabashi Arjar also stepped forward to help. The three Shinigami captains worked together, but they could only barely hold back the runaway Kinsei. Then at this moment, Kuna Mishiro, who had disappeared for a long time, rushed out from the side. At this time, Kuna Mishiro's legs were covered with white bone armor like Kinsei, and his face was also covered with a black and white mantis mask. Ryatsu became even more violent and powerful, which was definitely not the Ryatsu that a vice captain should have. The Shinigami were shocked again. After the shock, Yamaralisa also drew her sword to help. Haori was too seriously injured and could not get up, so the four Shinigami fought Kuna Mishiro and Muguruma Kinsei, who looked no different from hollows. However, in a 4-2 situation, it was the Shinigami who gradually fell into a disadvantage. Fortunately, at this time, Kid Vice Captain Hachigen finally arrived. After a hard fight, everyone assisted him in using the forbidden technique Beika number 99 and finally trapped Kuna Mishiro and Muguruma Kinsei. However, after the battle, Hirako Shinji and others were already covered in wounds. What no one noticed was that Saragaki Haori's condition was very wrong at this time. Her consciousness became more and more blurred and confused. After breaking through a limit, Saragaki Haori's whole body suddenly burst in a violent cold Ryatsu, and a hideous black and white mask covered her face. Haori's reason was also covered. Facing Haori's sudden change, Hirako Shinji, who had the best relationship with Haori, exclaimed, "Haori!" Torabashi Arjar, Love Aikawa, and Yamaralisa also looked at Haori, who seemed to have become a hollow, with a look of shock. However, at this time, the darkness like a curtain fell. In an instant, the hearing, vision, smell, and even spiritual sense of the four Shinigami and Hachigen all failed. What is going on? Hirako, Ross, Lisa, Love Aikawa, who was in the endless darkness, clenched Zampakit in his hand and desperately called out the names of his companions. But no sound came out. There was chaos all around him. No light, no sound, nothing. Cold sweat soaked Love Aikawa's already exhausted body. At this moment, severe pain came. By the time Love Aikawa reacted, a cold blade had pierced his chest, and blood gushed out. The darkness receded, and Love Aikawa lay on the ground powerlessly. Beside him, Hirako Shinji, Torabashi Arjar, and Yamaralisa all fell to the ground, seriously injured. At this moment, the faces of the four Shinigami were shocked and desperate. And in the splitting void space, Uehara Shiraha opened another bag of homemade potato chips. At this moment, only the captain of the 5th Division, Hirako Shinji, could barely stay awake. He struggled to look up. When he saw the appearance of a sneak attacker, clearly, Hirako Shinji's pupil shrank and he fell into shock again. The man in front of him wore an ordinary white mask, and the sharp blade in his hand was dripping with blood. More importantly, this person was wearing the uniform of the 9th Division. After being shocked, Hirako Shinji shouted, "Tosin Kaname, it was you who attacked Kinsei, right? Why did you do this? Why did you betray us?" "He didn't betray me. He has always been my man." At this moment, a gentle voice came from behind Hirako Shinji. The moment he heard this voice, Hirako Shinji, who was lying on the ground, was shocked and looked back. Then he saw the man he had been on guard against for a long time, Aizen Suk. Behind Aizen, it was Ikamaru Jin with a smile on his face. After Aizen appeared, Tosin Kaname also saluted Aizen respectfully. "Lord Aizen." At the same time in the space, Uehara Shiraha was also refreshed. "The real boss is here. It's time to take action." Facing Aizen, who suddenly appeared, Hirako Shinji gritted his teeth and was full of anger. "I knew you had a problem, so I kept you by my side and kept watching you." Aizen, who wore the vice captain's badge of the 5th Division on his right arm, looked at his embarrassed captain with a calm look and said softly, "So, when did you know it?" "Since you were in your mother's belly." Hirako Shinji sneered. Aizen was not angry at all and was still very polite. "So that's how it is. You are indeed a very perceptive person, but unfortunately, didn't you find that it wasn't me who followed you in the past month?" "How is this possible?" Hirako Shinji's pupils shrank rapidly, and an abnormal energy in his body became active. At this moment, Uehara Shiraha in the hollow state had come to a hidden place and began to observe the scene quietly. By the way, he also added a few kid to hide Ryatsu and aura in the space. Over there, after introducing his Kaika Sujetsu ability, Aizen deliberately angered Hirako Shinji again. Hirako Shinji was furious and found that a lot of white foreign matter flowed out of his mouth and then solidified into a half-hollowed mask of hollow. At the same time, Love Akoa, Torabashi Arjar, Hiyori, Yamaru Lisa, and Hachigen, who fainted on the ground, also screamed in pain. Their bodies underwent the same changes as Kensei and Kunimashiro. At this time, Hirako Shinji realized that he and others were just Aizen's experimental materials. After recording some experimental data, Aizen pulled out Zampakit, looked down at Hirako Shinji, who was kneeling on the ground, and said calmly, "It seems that hollow time is not only related to emotions, but also varies from person to person. Thank you for your participation, which allowed me to collect a lot of useful data. As an experimental material, you were really useful. But now it is useless, so I'm sorry." Chapter 9. While Tsutsuki Naruto, just as Aizen swung his sword at hollow Hirako Shinji, Uehara Shiraha showed up from under the invisibility cloak and slashed at Aizen. In the critical moment, Aizen was calm and dodged, and only the 5th Division emblem on his right arm was knocked to the ground by the tip of Uehara Shiraha's sword. At this time, the tall and big kid leader Tessai, Sakabashi, also showed up and stood next to Uehara Shiraha. Both of them came here quietly through the invisibility cloak that Uehara Shiraha secretly developed to hide Ryatsu. Uehara Shiraha, Tessai, Sakabashi. Seeing the two people who appeared, Aizen was not panicked at all. On the contrary, Aizen smiled. Two more interesting guests have come. After taking a look at the situation in the whole venue, Uehara Shiraha's eyes were no longer as gentle as usual, but were piercingly cold. "Aizen, you actually performed a hollow experiment on them." "Hollow? I don't quite understand what Captain Uehara means." Aizen pushed his glasses and looked innocent. "Do you mean that you used the strange props of the Technology Development Bureau to transform Hirako and the others? You're a bit too much. He is the captain I respect." Aizen. Uehara Shiraha, who has always been calm, could no longer restrain the murderous intent in his heart. Ikamaru Jin behind Aizen still had a smile on his face, squinting his eyes, and looked like he was watching a show. Tosin Kanemi's right hand held Zampakit, ready to attack at any time. At this moment, Hirako Shinji and the others who had fallen to the ground screamed, and the hollow breath could no longer be suppressed. It seems that they're not far from being completely hollow. Let's start. Aizen pushed his glasses again, his eyes lit up, and then shook his head. The so-called Shinigami captain is nothing more than this. I give not a sin, but a gift. Uehara Shiraha, you should understand, right? Seeing that Aizen didn't even want to act, Uehara Shiraha wanted to tear Aizen into pieces. But he couldn't abandon Hirako and others. So, Uehara Shiraha decisively and Tensai Sakabashi used all means to help the 8-hollowed Shinigami stabilize the situation. And Aizen, watching Uehara Shiraha's actions, did not move at all. As expected of the kid leader, he can even use the forbidden technique of the 90s to break the forbidden chant, which is really scary. Ikamaru Jin said with a smile. As he spoke, he quietly moved away from Uehara Shiraha and Tensai Sakabashi. The next second, Uehara Shiraha turned around and said in a cold voice, Aizen, it's your turn. Tensai Sakabashi, who had just released the highest level kid, also focused on Aizen. Aizen smiled lightly. I'm sorry. There is no need for me to fight with you anymore, because you have contributed your value to me. At this time, in the splitting void space, after seeing Hirako Shinji and others hollow with his own eyes, Uehara Shiraha breathed a sigh of relief. This special task is done, and you can get the reward after the system judgment takes effect. Uehara Shiraha became very happy because he was one step closer to invincibility. Then, looking at the several people on the field who were on the verge of a fight, Uehara Shiraha activated the teleportation ability without hesitation and walked out of the space silently. Then Uehara Shiraha walked out of the shadows in a dignified manner, looking at the huge golden full moon in the sky and sighing. The moonlight tonight is so beautiful. It's because the night is so beautiful and gentle that everyone gathered together, drank and talked, and drew their swords. It seems that I came at the wrong time. When seeing Uehara Shiraha appear, Uehara Shiraha, Tensai Sakabashi, Tosin Kaname, and Ikamaru Jin were all surprised, except for the few hollow Shinigami lying on the ground. The 4 of them didn't even notice how this stranger approached. This person seemed to have suddenly appeared. Is this person also Aizen's helper? Won't this guest introduce himself? Faced with Uehara Shiraha, the unexpected troublemaker, Aizen was a little surprised, but he didn't panic at all. Facing Aizen, who was pretentious, Uehara Shiraha was not vague and spoke directly. My name is Tsutsuki Naruto. Our Tsutsuki family is good at planting trees and has been environmental enthusiasts for generations. I'm the only heir of the family. You could just call me the prince. Aizen frowned and thought for a while and said, Tsutsuki family? Isn't it a family in the Siriidii? A family in Rukongai? Tosin. Just as Aizen finished speaking, Tosin Kaname moved. He came behind Uehara Shiraha in an instant and swung a knife. The ruthless Tosin Kaname stabbed Suzumushi into Uehara Shiraha's waist in just a moment, and then pierced through. Uehara Shiraha looked down at the tip of the knife protruding from his lower abdomen, with a look of shock and confusion. How is this possible? After saying that, he secretly retracted Ryatsu and pretended to be seriously injured. Although the enemy in front of him fell to the ground, Tosin Kaname felt something was wrong. The hand felt wrong, and there was no smell of blood. Without any hesitation, he clenched Zampakit and spun it hard. The onlookers understood Tosin Kaname's slowness. After all, Tosin Kaname was blind, and he didn't expect someone to play such a boring joke. In the eyes of others, from the beginning, Tosin Kaname didn't really hurt that Tsutsuki Naruto. Tosin Kaname's determined knife went straight through the body of Tsutsuki Naruto, without any bloodline or wounds, as if it passed through the air. There is no Ryatsu fluctuation. It's not Kid. It can only be Zampakit Bankai. An illusion? The tall Tensai Sakabashi muttered to himself in some confusion. Uehara Shiraha frowned. It shouldn't be as simple as an ordinary illusion. Is it Zampakit ability? At this time, Tosin Kaname realized that he was fooled, and the expression under Tosin Kanami's mask became distorted. He failed Aizen-sama's expectations. Pain. It hurt so much. In anger, Tosin Kaname burst out Ryatsu. Bankai Suzumushi final style Yenma cricket. Instantly, Uehara Shiraha's eyes darkened. In fact, not only his vision, but also his smell, sound, taste, and even his spiritual sense disappeared, leaving only the touch that can feel pain. This is Tosin Kanami's Bankai. Uehara Shiraha shrugged and returned directly to the splitting void space. After opening Bankai, Tosin Kaname was ready to avenge his previous shame, but he drew his sword and looked around with a confused heart. Where are the people? How come I can't sense the enemy after opening Bankai? At this moment, Tosin Kaname felt that the decorative mask on his face really suited him. Chapter 10. The horse spell of the 12 spells the next second. Uehara Shiraha emerged from another place and easily escaped from Tosin Kanami's Bankai range. You have good abilities. Aizen looked at Uehara Shiraha and said. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared from the spot. The next moment, Aizen was already standing in front of Uehara Shiraha and waved his right hand forward. Had number 90 black coffin. The terrifying Ryatsu burst out. The atmosphere was trembling and deforming. The powerful Ryatsu formed an airtight black coffin that directly enveloped Uehara Shiraha. Inside, the raging high-density spirit turbulence began to distort the space. Aizen. Uehara Kisuk's pupils under the brim of his hat had a little more fear. This guy hides too deeply. On the surface, he is not good at anything, but in fact, he is the best in everything and can be called a versatile person. Tezside Sakabashi was also shocked. A vice captain who chanted the 9 he had is so powerful. What Aizen can do, he can do as the leader of the kid. But he is the leader of the kid, and the other party is just an ordinary vice captain. Moreover, this may not be the full strength of the other party. How much strength does this Aizen hide? Black Coffin has not been released yet. Aizen sighed. What a commendable ability. I'm sorry, I have something to do tonight, so I can't accompany you. Yeah, Jin, let's go. After saying that, he didn't even look at the 2 Ueharas who were staring at him and walked straight into the distance. Tosin Kaname followed without saying a word. Ikamaru Jin narrowed his eyes and showed a dangerous smile. Lord Aizen, don't you need to confirm it? If the opponent still has a breath, I can finish him off. Aizen said softly without looking back. Jin, if Siriidii are all mediocre mortals, then this world is a little too sad. When I ascend the throne above the sky, there will naturally be people crawling at my feet. Soon, the shadows of Aizen and his group disappeared in the night. In the splitting void space, Uehara Shiraha did not jump out again. This time, he just wanted to feel the strength and pressure of the top captain in advance. So Uehara Shiraha was in the hollow state throughout the whole process. After all, survival is the first priority. Aizen seemed to have guessed his ability and chose to leave directly without much entanglement. And in order to save the 8 hollow Shinigami, Tezside Sakabashi began to use the time-forbidden technique. The incident was over. Uehara Shiraha left the scene quickly and then waited for the mission reward to arrive. At this time, in Siriidii, Kaiaraka Shunsui had a serious expression. Beside him, shadow clone Uehara Shiraha was acting attentively, also pretending to be worried. Noticing Uehara Shiraha's expression, Kaiaraka Shunsui comforted Uehara Shiraha instead. By you, don't worry, Lisa will definitely come back. In West Rukongai, Uehara Shiraha, who had just left the scene, heard the system prompt. Ding! You completed Special Mission 7 and received the reward of the A-level item horse talisman. A regular hexagonal silver-white disc was quietly suspended in the system space. In the center of the disc was a blue horsehead-shaped talisman. Uehara Shiraha was delighted and immediately extracted the horse talisman from the system space. Horse talisman level. A level item type. Magical creation ability. Expel all abnormal states and restore things to their original state. Introduction 1. From the animation Jackie Chan Adventures, one of the 12 talismans It is a powerful force used by the Holy Lord to ensure that it is not invaded by external forces. 2. The host completes special mission 7. Witness the birth of Visor to obtain it. 3. Even if it is a parking lot destroyed by a tornado, I can fix it. Looking at the properties of the horse talisman, Uehara Shiraha nodded with satisfaction. Then, he moved his mind and put this magical talisman into the splitting void space. The ability of this horse talisman is similar to Crazy Diamond, the stand of Cow Dung Head, Higashikata Jasuk. It is the diamond-piercing mother fist, which pierces the heart with one punch and recovers from injuries. The future god-level nanny, in no way Orheim, also has similar abilities. Its effect is not to heal injuries, but a recovery ability similar to time reversal. From today, Uehara Shiraha not only has the same self-healing ability as Wolverine, but is also not afraid of any toxins and will not be affected by any abnormal state. Kuratsuchi Miyuri's various black tech drugs and Wabasuk-like Zampakit abilities are all ineffective against Uehara Shiraha. Even the rogue holy text abilities of the Stern Cross Knights are the same. For example, Ace Knot's power of fear, Yaskin's divine poison vision, and so on. Even Zaraki Kenpachi, who has thick skin and amazing defense, was almost killed instantly by the parasitic ability of the Royal Guard Penida Pakaja. Ichigo Buddha, who killed the Soul King Ha with one sword, was knocked down by Yaskin's lethal amount of poison, leaving behind the reputation of Carpet Ichigo. With the horse charm, Uehara Shiraha doesn't have to worry about being disgusted by the Royal Guard's abilities. After a special mission, he has another powerful trump card. Therefore, Uehara Shiraha's steps became more relaxed, and his mood was very happy. When the eastern sky became slightly white, Shadow clone Uehara Shiraha returned to the residence of the first team without a sound. The moment he stepped into the room, Uehara Shiraha released Shadow clone and moved out of the splitting void space. Unnoticed, Uehara Shiraha replaced Shadow clone Uehara Shiraha. At the same time, a memory appeared in his mind. After a careful review, Uehara Shiraha nodded with satisfaction. As expected of me, there's no flaw at all. The rest has nothing to do with Uehara Shiraha. It is Central 40SX's own fault. Sure enough, the subsequent development is just as Uehara Shiraha knew. Central 46 ordered the execution of the 8 Shinigami of Hollow. By the way, Tezai Sakabashi, who used the forbidden technique of space and time privately, and Uehara Kisuk, who studied Hollow, were also dealt with. At the critical moment, Shihoin Yuruchi, the captain of the second team, came to the rescue and saved Uehara Kisuk and Tezai Sakabashi. The 3 fled Soul Society with the 8 Hollow Shinigami who had just stabilized the situation, and their whereabouts are unknown. So Central 46 simply listed all 11 people as wanted criminals. Overnight, Godei 13 lost 6 captains, 3 vice captains, and the chief and vice captains of the kid group. There were only 13 captains in Godei 13, and almost half of them were gone. When the news came out, a tense atmosphere enveloped Suriidei. Even the nobles felt a little worried. Fortunately, the great Buddha Yamamoto Genrisai was still there, and he could still calm the situation. The nobles naturally continued to play music and dance. Chapter 11. The horse spell with infinite uses and unlimited firepower a few days after the Hollow incident. In order to fill the vacancies in many positions, Yamamoto Shigekuni, the captain general, quickly issued a series of personnel orders. Soifan, the 9th generation descendant of the B family and the former direct guard of the Shing Army General Corps commander, replaced Shihoin Yuruchi as the captain of the 2nd Division. Aizen Suk, the former vice captain of the 5th Division, replaced Hirako Shinji as the captain of the 5th Division. At the same time, under the recommendation of Aizen, Ikamura Jin, the former 5th seat of the 5th Division, was promoted to the vice captain of the 5th Division. Yamamoto Shigekuni also promoted his own ironclad members and arranged for the big dog Kamamura Sajin to replace Love Kawa as the captain of the 7th Division. Tosin Kiname, the only survivor of the Hollow incident, was also successfully promoted under the promotion of Aizen, replacing Mugirume Kensei, as the captain of the 9th Division. As for the captains of the 3rd Division and the 12th Division, because there was no suitable candidate, the 2 vice captains, Shoten Shitetsu and Kurat Tsuchimayuri, could only temporarily act as the acting captains. The former is not capable enough, while the latter is capable enough, but is not trusted. In the next few days, there are several patrol Shinigami patrolling at the same time, day and night. These Shinigami are elite soldiers selected from various squads. Their spirit is completely different from that of ordinary Shinigami. At the same time, ordinary soldiers train more diligently. Several new captains are also actively showing their strength. In this atmosphere, Uehara Shiraha is also a rare initiative to find something to do and apply to guard. Flower Street. Flower Street is located in the most lively area of Siriidi. The fragrance of flowers is fragrant. The spring smoke is filled. The lights are bright, and the laughter is endless. Prosperous. Beautiful. At this time, in the most upscale winery in Flower Street, Uehara Shiraha is drinking happily with Kayaraka Shunsui. There is a young and beautiful girl serving on each side of the two. The 2 girls around Uehara Shiraha are all top-notch in appearance, manners, temperament, and figure. Moreover, he was considerate and attentive to Uehara Shiraha. Kayaraka Shunsui looked at Uehara Shiraha, who was kissing 2 Oiran beauties, with envy and muttered, "Damn it, can you do whatever you want just because you are handsome?" Although the 2 girls around him were also very good, they were still a little immature compared to the Oiran. More importantly, they did not have the passion of wholehearted dedication that they had. Each Oiran was the top beauty, impeccable in every aspect. Moreover, not everyone could enjoy their services. Oirans had the privilege of refusing to provide services, and Uehara Shiraha was the only customer who could enjoy top-level services without spending money. In the Flower Street, Kayaraka Shunsui stood up and prepared to leave. Without Yamura Lisa, he could only handle official business in person. Now, Kayaraka Shunsui has not found a new vice captain. In fact, the most suitable candidate is Uehara Shiraha in front of him. The 2 have a close relationship, and Uehara Shiraha's ability is absolutely sufficient. However, Kayaraka Shunsui did not mention it, and Uehara Shiraha did not ask. This is a tacit understanding between men. No need to say more. After all, if 2 lazy people lie in one office, who will work? What great time. Are you leaving, Kayaraka brother? After saying that, Uehara Shiraha turned around and ate the grapes handed to him by an Oiran. After all, I'm a captain, so I still have to pay attention to the impact. After saying that, Kayaraka Shunsui glanced at Uehara Shiraha. Recently, the first team should be very busy. Don't you have to work? Uehara Shiraha hugged the 2 beauties tightly and said in a matter-of-fact tone, "I'm just working. It's my duty to protect the Flower Street." As a person who cherishes flowers, Brother Kayarako, you certainly don't want these beauties to get into trouble, right? The 2 courtesans immediately kissed each other excitedly. Master Baiyu, you are so awesome. I am so honored to be protected by Master Baiyu. As, looking at this harmonious and friendly scene, Kayarako Shunsui seemed to have nothing to say except blessing. He turned around and left helplessly. At this moment, Uehara Shiraha said proudly, "Keep playing music, keep dancing, and all expenses tonight will be paid by Captain Kayaraku." Hearing this, Kayaraka Shunsui, whose back was a little bleak, stumbled and almost fell to the ground, and then flew away. In the end, Uehara Shiraha still didn't let Kayaraku Shunsui pay. He put the bill on the first team. After all, Uehara Shiraha was still tired of guarding the Flower Street day and night. After a while, Uehara Shiraha returned to his room refreshed. At the same time, he received a system prompt. "Ding, congratulations on completing the daily task. Relax, get the reward stand-in, White Album Proficiency Plus, Shunpa +1. Not bad, not bad. It has become stronger again." Uehara Shiraha nodded with satisfaction and took out the horse charm from the splitting void space. Through these days of experiments, he summarized some of the ability mechanisms of the horse charm. First, It does not work when you're slightly drunk. Only when you're about to get drunk. You can use the horse charm to regain sobriety. It is very smart. Secondly, it has a certain recovery effect on the sage state, but it cannot restore the consumed Ryatsu and physical strength. Thirdly, it can perfectly restore broken items, which means it will consume Ryatsu. The amount of Ryatsu consumed is directly related to the size, complexity, and completeness of the item. At present, the Uehara Shiraha cannot verify whether the horse charm can remove the side effects of the hollow state and repair the damaged Bankai. If both of these can be achieved, the importance and role of the horse charm will be raised to another level. These days, Uehara Shiraha has been focusing on relaxing, brushing daily tasks, and studying horse charms. Recently, Vice Captain Sasakaibe and Old Man Yamamoto have been surprisingly easy to talk to, and they will respond to his requests. Even such a ridiculous request as guarding the flower street was agreed. Uehara Shiraha already had a guess in his mind about this. However, he was not panicked at all. Anyway, he still got his salary and caught fish. Just survive until the end of the plot and become invincible. At this time, in the 5th Division's dormitory, Aizen, wearing a white haori, looked at Ikamaru Jin and asked, "Jin, have Captain Hirako and the others been found? They should be hiding in the real world, but the technical team cannot locate their location." Ikamaru Jin replied with a smile. Aizen didn't seem to care too much about this matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes, they will always pop up. Have you found any results from the investigation of the Tsutsuki family? Ikamaru Jin shook his head. Neither Suriidei nor Soul Society has any records of this family. I'm afraid it's fake. Then he suggested, "Lord Aizen, do you need to search for that Tsutsuki Naruto with all your strength?" After thinking for a while, Aizen shook his head and said, "We don't know this person's intentions yet. Let's wait until he appears again. The most important thing now is to obtain a complete Jayaku and conduct a deeper hollow experiment." "Yes, Lord Aizen." Ikamaru Jin nodded his head and said yes, with a look of 100% obedience. Chapter 12, Making New Friends, the 1st Division Headquarters Building, the Captain's Office. Yamamoto Jinrasai looked at the report from the Technology Development Bureau and asked Kuratsuchi Mayuri, "Is the situation really that serious?" Kuratsuchi Mayuri nodded and said, "Indeed, due to a shortage of manpower, the number of hollows is increasing. If the soul strength of Hueco Mundo exceeds that of Soul Society, the barrier between the two worlds may collapse and distort." "I see. There is no need to inform other divisions of this news for the time being." Yamamoto Jinrasai thought for a while and said. At the same time, in the 1st Division office, Uehara Shiraha looked up at Kuratsuchi Mayuri, who was passing by in a hurry. Then, he turned to Okiga Jinshiro, the 3rd seat of the 1st Division, and said, "Third seat, Okiga, is the bill okay? I didn't get caught eating and drinking with public funds, did I?" Okiga Jinshiro also looked like an old man, with all his hair and beard white. Only a little bit of hair on the right side still stubbornly held on to the last black color. This upright Shinigami said in a deep voice, "Uehara Nanase, you spent 30 million rings in a month. What's going on?" Rings are the currency of Soul Society, and the purchasing power of rings is similar to the Japanese yen in later generations. Generally speaking, the salary of a vice captain is several million rings. 30 million is equal to a vice captain's annual salary, which is already a lot. He dared to put the bill on the head of the first team for squandering in the red light district. If it were another officer, Okiga Jinshiro's Zampiket would have been chopped off. Uehara Shiraha shrugged, looking innocent. "I also think it's outrageous. Are those women made of gold or silver? How can they be so expensive? I really can't report the bill, but I accept it. Even if I'm detained by the red light district and lose face for the first team, there's nothing I can do. After all, I've only been the 7th seat for a few years, and my wife hasn't saved any money. So how can I pay the bill? By the way, Chonya is so senior and well paid. He must have saved a lot of money, right? Forget it this time, it won't happen again." Chonya didn't say anything and reported the bill to Uehara Shiraha directly. "If we continue talking, our pension money will be emptied." After dealing with this mess, Okiga Jinshiro reluctantly said. By you. Don't forget our duties. We must be more serious and responsible. Uehara Shiraha nodded repeatedly and said sincerely, Indeed, you can see that Captain Kensei and Captain Hirako have always been diligent and hardworking. They are worried about Suriidei. They are role models for our generation and are indeed worth learning. Such serious and responsible Shinigami. They must have been promoted and made a fortune now, right? Although today, Godei 13 has become the strongest armed force of Suriidei, Xingjuan and Kid cannot compare with them at all. But in the eyes of the corrupt nobles, only Shinigami of noble origin are considered human beings. Other Shinigami, even if they're captains, are just consumables and can be abandoned at any time. Okiga Jinshiro's face darkened, and he couldn't continue this topic. As the third seed of the first team, he certainly knew that these captains were good and had suffered a lot of grievances. But can these words be said openly? Uehara Shiraha walked out of the First Division office happily. When he walked to the practice field, he even shouted, Brothers, thank you for your hard work. Today's afternoon tea will be paid for by the 7th seat. He took at least 70% of the 30 million. Taking out a little can be regarded as taking from the people and using it for the people. Long live Uehara Shiraha. Lord Shiraha, you are so handsome, I want to give you. Hearing these cheers, Chonya in the office turned pale again and almost had a myocardial infarction. Uehara Shiraha sang happily. Today the people are so happy. While singing, he looked at today's daily tasks again. Make a new friend, daily task. The sky is clear and the weather is fine. This kind of good weather is most suitable for PY trading. Make a new friend. Reward. Random attribute points 2. If you want to make friends, you must choose the 4th team. They're all gentle and cute girls with full love. However, Uehara was very careful and jumped out only after making sure that the old hen guarding the house was not there. As soon as he arrived at the 4th team's dormitory, he heard someone yelling, Why hasn't my injury healed yet? Do you cowards look down on our 11th team and me, the 20th seat of the 11th team? Hearing the voice, Uehara Shiraha rushed to the treatment room. I saw a mustache uncle with a wretched look yelling at the 3 female nurses of the 4th Division. The 3 girls looked aggrieved. Uehara Shiraha really has some impression of the 20th seat of the 11th Division. He should be called Araki Mikizo, or Araki for short. He appeared in the animation, and at that time, he had already reached the 10th seat, which was considered a funny character. But after the two-dimensional world became a reality, it was not funny at all. In the same year that Uehara Shiraha joined the Spiritual Arts Academy, Zaraki Kenpachi chopped off the 10th Kenpachi Onawashiro with a single sword and became the 11th Kenpachi. Onawashiro and his predecessor, the 9th Kenpachi Gasuk, plus Mugiuruma Kensei, and the big dog Kamamura Sajin. These four are all strong contenders for the weakest captain. The 11th Division welcomed Zaraki Kenpachi, the unparalleled boss, and their spirit and energy were immediately different. They originally looked down on the 4th Division, and now they're even worse. At this time, Uehara Shiraha stepped out, blocking several female nurses, and said with a smile, Do you know me, this warrior of the 11th Division? Well, where did you come from? Mikizo Aramaki, who was lying on the bed, glanced at Uehara Shiraha. I don't care who you are, The 1st Division, the 7th seat. You, our Lord Uehara Shiraha. After seeing the 7th seat badge with chrysanthemum pattern on Uehara Shiraha's right arm, Mikizo Aramaki's eyes almost popped out, and he was about to stand up and salute. Compared with other divisions, the officer of the 1st Division should be treated with a few more seats. Although Uehara Shiraha is only the 7th seat, his status is not much worse than that of the vice captains of other divisions. Don't get up if you are injured. Uehara Shiraha stretched out his hand and pressed Mikizo Aramaki. Aramaki Mikizo didn't dare to act rashly. Master Uehara, my injury has healed. No, I don't think you're healed. You're seriously injured and need proper treatment. Uehara Shiraha exerted a little force. Aramaki Mikizo only felt his bones creaking all over his body, and he couldn't use any strength at all, so he could only nod desperately. Master's right. I'm seriously injured and need treatment. Don't just stand there. Come and practice. Uehara Shiraha smiled slightly and said to the three little nurses who were in a daze. At this time, the three soldiers of the 4th Division realized that Uehara Shiraha was standing up for them and immediately burst into tears, and their cheeks were flushed. Thank you, Master Uehara. Master Uehara, you're so handsome. Master Uehara, don't pay attention to those bad women. I can. Then, the three little nurses began to treat Aramaki Makizo while chatting with Uehara Shiraha with their hearts beating fast. Chapter 13 Kotetsu Aisane and Uno Hanaretsu amidst the beauties. Uehara Shiraha completed his daily mission. Ding! Congratulations on completing the daily mission. Make a new friend. Reward Ryatsu +1. Kid +1. The smile on his face became more and more sunny, making the three girls more and more obsessed. Aramaki Makizu, next to him, was in great pain, but he didn't dare to cry out in pain for fear of disturbing Uehara Shiraha's interest. Just then, the captain of the 4th Division, Uno Hanaretsu, returned to the 4th Division's dormitory with a medicine basket. Then, she saw her 3rd Division, Kotetsu Aisane, mumbling something in the direction of the medical room. Hello, Uehara Shiraha. I am Kotetsu Aisane, the 3rd Division of the 4th Division. Please give me your advice. I usually like flower arranging and tailoring. If you don't mind, I could do it for you. Then the words became quieter and quieter, almost inaudible. Like Yamato Nadeshiko, Uno Hanaretsu frowned, walked forward, and said in a gentle but dignified voice, Yongin, what are you doing? Is the patient healed? Ah, Captain. Hearing the voice, the slender and fruitful Kotetsu Aisane was startled, and then shrank like a little deer and said, I don't know. I didn't go to see. I want to go, but I don't dare. Seeing Kotetsu Aisane dodging and hesitating, Uno Hanaretsu couldn't help but become curious. This is our 4th Squad's barracks. What are you afraid of? Is there a tiger inside? After that, she walked towards the treatment room slowly. In the 4th Squad's medical room, Uehara Shiraha and a few girls chatted more and more happily, and the atmosphere was very good. He is a veteran in the love field, and it's easy for him to control 3 chicks. After eating a gorgeous meal, it's not bad to have some porridge and cabbage occasionally. Then, at this moment, Uehara Shiraha shuddered, feeling a chill inexplicably. You're having a great time chatting. Can I join? At this time, Uno Hanaretsu said, almost word by word, Uehara Shiraha, the 7th seat of the 1st Division, who wouldn't be angry if the cabbage that he had cultivated for a long time was about to be pushed by a pig. Do you really think that she, the 1st-generation Kenpachi, can't lift a knife? After Uno Hanaretsu appeared, the 3 nurses of the 4th Division were frightened and huddled together like quails, not daring to breathe. Uehara Shiraha reacted quickly and immediately said, Captain Uno Hana, I actually have a heart to save the world and save people. I was just asking your team members for experience and knowledge in curing diseases and saving people. At this time, Uno Hanaretsu returned to her usual dignified elegance. Since Uehara's 7th seat has such a heart, just ask me for advice in the future. My Cade is still good. With her status, the meaning is very clear. Come if you are brave enough. I will definitely do it next time. I won't bother you today. Goodbye, Captain Uno Hana. Captain Shinin has a strong aura, but Uehara Shiraha, the Flower Street Immortal, is not in vain. Uno Hanaretsu was slightly stunned when she saw Uehara Shiraha running away. Although she was young, she was quite brave. But soon, she regained her composure and turned away. After Uno Hanaretsu left, the 3 nurses looked at each other and finally ran out. Don't go. I really need treatment this time. In the ward, Araki Makizo was in tears. Outside the medical room, Kotetsu Aisane was in tears as he watched Uehara Shiraha disappear in the blink of an eye. In the present world, in a secret barrier, Shihui Naruchi, who had just defected, said to Uehara Kisuke and Tezsai Tsakabashi, Siriidi, I probably won't have time to pay attention to us for now, so be careful of Aizen. Also pay attention to the guy from the Tsutsuki family. He's also an insider, and his Zampicut ability is very strange. What Tsutsuki family? I've never heard of it. Shihoin Yuruchi was confused. It may not be Tsutsuki, and it may not be Zampicut ability. Uehara Shiraha told all the strange abilities of Tsutsuki Naruto. Very capable, interesting. Shihoin Yuruchi's eyes lit up and then suddenly reacted. Does that Naruto Kenpachi also have such abilities? Could it be him? The Naruto Kenpachi that Yuruchi was referring to was the 8th generation Kenpachi Naruto Fudetsuya. This person's Bankai ability is extremely strong, and he can maintain the Bankai state permanently. Therefore, even if Zaraki Futaro is imprisoned in Mujian prison, he can still use Bankai. After Bankai, Zaraki Futaro can also merge with the entire Siriidii in the spirit state, and then control the fused living and non-living things. The pavilions, towers, flowers, birds, trees, and people of Siriidii are all his eyes, ears, and feet. The clones he created are like the ghosts of Siriidii, coming and going without a trace, not vulnerable to any attack, knowing everything and controlling everything. This Bankai is really terrifying. Uehara Shiraha shook his head. The Zampicut of the Mujian prisoners has been sealed. After the Zampicut was sealed, Zaraki Futaro could no longer come and go freely as before. Moreover, Zaraki Futaro's Bankai is only effective in Siriidii. More importantly, even Zaraki Futaro's Bankai is not so weird. It is simply untraceable. In Uehara Shiraha's opinion, perhaps only some inherited artifacts can do that. For example, the 8 mirror swords of the ISE family, the mirror classic of the Tsuneshiro family. In that case, I will pay more attention to this information in the future. Shihoin Yuruchi was also curious. Uehara Shiraha pressed the brim of his black hat and said helplessly, "There is one more thing. I need equipment and data to help them stabilize the situation. In addition, some things in my private laboratory need to be dealt with. I can only ask you for help. I will go back tonight and bring back your little toys." Yi said that there was no pressure. As the former head of the Shihoin family, the captain of the second team, the commander of the Shing army, and the general commander of the secret mobile team, even if she was listed as a wanted criminal by Siriidii, she could enter and leave Siriidii at will. In the room, Uehara Shiraha was sweeping the walls and furniture of the room with a horse charm. Not even a speck of dust was spared. Everything in the room was obtained by him from Rukongai, and he said to the outside world that it had the taste of home. In fact, it was just to prevent a pervert from Mujian. Finally, after Uehara Shiraha used the horse charm in a corner of the room, an abnormal Ryatsu suddenly appeared and then disappeared. He breathed a sigh of relief and whispered to himself, "I know you can hear and see, but I just don't want you to hear or see. Your sword is sealed, and you are in Wujian. What can you do to me?" Uehara Shiraha didn't have any opinion on this Zaraki Fuya. After all, this guy is also a poor man. Zaraki Fuya's tragic experience, like most tragedies in Soul Society, was caused by the nobles. Uehara Shiraha just had a lot of opinions about this guy's behavior of not paying attention to other people's privacy. Chapter 14. Cat. Hot spring bath, the 8th floor of the central underground prison, Mujian. The criminals sealed here are the most dangerous ones, and may even threaten the safety of Soul Society. Because Ryatsu is too strong, even Skyaku can't destroy them, so they can only be locked up here and accept eternal torture. In the endless space, a pair of small single-lidded eyes slowly opened, and the man who once dispatched the Soul King Palace Zero Division was confused and shocked. He murmured to himself in the void, "It's not domination, absorption, or destruction, but it directly expelled my Ryatsu and didn't leave any information. I don't even know the specific location of the other party. How is this possible? Yulu Takuliu, do you know what's going on?" As the voice fell, a gorgeous woman appeared in the eyes of Zaraki Fuya. The woman was dressed in ancient costumes, with wide sleeves and long skirts, and her eyes were covered by black eye bands. This is the Bankai embodiment of Zaraki Fuya, Yulu Takuliu. When he was in the 11th Division, he was often seen talking to himself. In fact, Zaraki Shuang was talking to the omnipresent Yulu Takuliu. However, Yulu Takuliu did not have a good attitude towards Zaraki Futaya. Instead, he said in a mocking tone, "Of course, that's because he is a smart person. Look at this mysterious guy. Look at Aizen, and then look at you. As Shinigami, the gap between you is really too big. Back then, you discovered that my ability could transform Rukongai's soul. How did you do it? I reported it to the 46th room and proposed a plan to transform soldiers. They agreed. Then what did they do? They were worried that I had absolute ownership of the transformed soldiers, so they charged me with the crime of transforming souls without authorization. Finally, the 0 Division came, and I could only surrender to Mujin. Yes, this is Shinigami. This is the noble. Yulu Takuliu mocked. So Aizen and the mysterious person chose to hide, and you are still obsessed with it? Give up." Zaraki Futaya, who was tightly bound by heavy seals, shook his head. "I am a Shinigami. I want to eradicate all the hollows in this world. This is my duty. That guy is in the 1st Division, and I will find him out. This kind of guy who hides his strength, and like Aizen, they all need to be closely watched." In the room, Uehara Shiraha laid down on the bed, feeling more at ease. It's not that he is too cautious. It's that he has too many secrets that cannot be exposed. Although Suriidei looks calm on the surface, there is the ambitious big boss Aizen inside, and the invisible empire outside is hiding in the shadows and watching covetously. If you take a wrong step, you may be in danger. And this group of Shinigami are really phantom gods in internal fighting and cowards in external fighting. Just like the ability of this Zaraki Futaya, he is simply Suriidei's father. As long as Suriidei is still there, this man can't die. Even the Captain Raijin Jaka can't do anything to him. It's impossible to burn Suriidei to ashes together. But when it comes to the Quincy who can control the spirit particles, Zaraki Futaya is at a loss. And the Dragon King's son-in-law of the Kachiki family, Kachiki Hibiki's licking dog Zampakit. Bankai's ability is to turn others against Zampakit. They don't even bother to act. They just write the word targeting on their faces. Not to mention the bloody fights and dirty things between nobles and Shinigami and Shinigami over the years. Even the high-ranking Zero Squad seems to be on guard against Godei 13. They keep all the good stuff to themselves. Once Soul Society has a powerful guy, he will be promoted to Squad 0 immediately so that the core technology can be firmly in their hands. Until now, Zampakit forging technology is still controlled by Squad 0. There is no one who doesn't know about the sealed state of the entire Soul Society. Ichibai Haisub, the captain of Squad 0, is the one who named the 3 words Zampakit, Shirkai, and Bankai. He even knew their names the moment the sealed state was handed over to the Shinigami. This bald Yamato Shirkai can control the darkness of the world and cause great damage to black things. And the Shinigami's death suits are all black. Taste it carefully. Late at night, Uehara Shiraha, wearing camouflage glasses, walked towards the direction of Skya Kudai in a hollow state. Outside the Squad 1 barracks, Uehara Shiraha also saw a familiar figure, but all the patrolling Shinigami seemed not to see it. This person is naturally Aizen Suk, the new captain of the 5th Division who opened Kaikus Sujetsu. Aizen is heading to the Central Underground Council Hall, where the 46th chamber handles government affairs. But now, the 40 sages and 6 judges are resting in Pure Pagoda Forest residence. Aizen's goal can only be the great spiritual book corridor directly below the Underground Council Hall. This magical building automatically records everything about Soul Society. There are all the important information about Soul Society since its existence, including various forbidden techniques, which can be called the Soul Society Magical Index. This place is the same as Pure Pagoda Forest residence, which is an absolute restricted area, and even the captain cannot enter easily. In the entire Shinigami, only Lan Ran succeeded in stealing information from it. Uehara Shiraha knows that Aizen learned from the great spiritual book corridor that Uehara Kisuk also made a piece of Jayaku. Aizen thus inferred that the 2 pieces of Jayaku combined into one is the complete Hyaku. From then on, Aizen embarked on a road of no return to fleece Uehara a dream. The hidden Ryatsu cloak, Hyaku extraction technology, etc. developed by Uehara Kisuk all fell into Aizen's hands. Uehara Shiraha retracted his gaze and secretly complained, "Aizen, you have to rely on yourself to be a man. How can you just think about glimpsing? It's not easy for manager Uehara. He's almost fleeced by you." Then Uehara Shiraha Shunpa all the way and teleported in space, and soon came to Skyaku Terrace. The entire Skyaku Terrace is forged from thick and heavy murderous stone, and is used to release Skyaku to execute Shinigami. It is this Skyaku that is said to be more than 1,000,000 Zampakit gathered, and then was crushed by Kurosaki Ichigo with one knife. He sank rapidly into the ground in a hollow state. The murderous stone that can perfectly block Ryatsu's spirits can't stop Uehara Shiraha in his hollow state. After passing through layers of thick murderous stone, Uehara Shiraha's eyes suddenly opened up. A brightly lit secret base appeared in front of him. It's great to get Uehara Kisuk's secret base for free. The surroundings are all murderous stone, and the only passage is also blocked by a door made of murderous stone. In addition, there is a strong kid barrier that isolates sound and smell. So no matter how big a commotion is here, no one will know. In addition, Uehara Shiraha also saw a hidden secret laboratory here. Uehara Dream must have taken advantage of the Technology Development Bureau, but now it all belongs to him, Uehara Shiraha. After passing through a kid barrier, Uehara Shiraha saw a misty hot spring in front of him. He remembered that this hot spring was a youth version of the Blood Pond Hell of the Zero Squad, with a good healing effect. Arima Talisman, Uehara Shiraha doesn't care about the healing effect, but it's a wonderful thing to soak in a hot spring after training. Just thinking about it, I heard the sound of running water. In the hot spring, a black-skinned beauty with short purple hair and a strong figure stretched her body through the hot mist and sighed with satisfaction. Chapter 15 Flash Goddess Uruchi, the great master of all wood at the edge of the hot spring. Uehara Shiraha opened his eyes wide and chanted, "Don't look at anything indecent. Don't look at anything indecent." At this time, Shihoin Uruchi also noticed something was wrong. He looked up and saw Uehara Shiraha chanting. She thought speechlessly, "What's the use of chanting beautifully? Don't open your eyes so wide." Then, Shihoin Uruchi shrank back and hid in the mist and spring water again, and the beautiful scenery that had just been seen disappeared. After all, there is still 100 years before the beginning of the plot. There are many differences between the current plot characters and the beginning of the plot. Uruchi, who had just arrived in the present world, has not let himself go like he did at the beginning of the plot. Uehara Shiraha looked calm and said in a gentlemanly tone, "Don't worry, I'm actually a blind man. I can't see anything. You don't have to cover it." While saying this, he tried to cosplay Tosin Kaname. But thinking about the plot, Tosin Kaname would rather cover his mouth and nose with a mask than cover his blind eyes, and he can watch the monitor and even use a telescope. Such a person can be blind, so it is normal for him to be blind. Looking at Uehara Shiraha's completely careless disguise, Shihoin Uruchi was speechless again. But she didn't bother with such a small matter, but said directly, "Tsutsuki Naruto, you should know who I am. What are you doing here?" Uehara Shiraha shrugged and vowed, "Don't worry, our Tsutsuki family loves peace and will never go along with Aizen and his ilk." Shihoin Uruchi just breathed a sigh of relief, but Uehara Shiraha said again, "Unless you pay more." Shihoin Uruchi clenched his fist, then loosened it, and asked tentatively, "Why have I never heard of the Tsutsuki family?" Because like the werewolf clan, our Tsutsuki family is a secret clan hidden outside of Rukongai. Uehara Shiraha looked nostalgic. "Looking back, when I was born, my father wrote a poem for me. When you were born, the whole Soul Society was whispering your name Alsace, and you'll be crowned king." Shihoin Uruchi frowned and questioned, "Wait a minute, aren't you called Tsutsuki Naruto? What the hell is Arthas? And the whole Siriai? There is only one king in the whole world, and that is the Spirit King. What king do you want to be?" Uehara Shiraha shrugged and said calmly, Arthas is my nickname. My father is more of a foreigner, so he gave me a foreign nickname. And there's more than one king in this world. Can't I become the old king or the pirate king? After all, pirates are the freest people in the world because they die very randomly, just like a free country, and they can eat all-you-can-eat seafood. Shihoin Yoruchi's frown could kill a fly. What kind of king is the old king? What a mess. If it weren't for the weird ability of Tsutsuki Naruto, Shihoin Yoruchi would have wanted to tear this man's mouth apart. Not a single truth. The old king. After all, I'm not young anymore. Uehara Shiraha's eyes lit up. Why do you want to be my princess? Why am I not the queen? Shihoin Yoruchi laughed in anger. Uehara Shiraha said confidently, As a man, you should always leave yourself a way out. You can't give up the whole forest because of a tree. However, you have to change your habits in the future. Only I can see your body. If you can do it, you still have a chance to become my queen. Shihoin Yoruchi cursed this Tsutsuki Naruto in his heart. I have to take a good bath here. You broke in by yourself. Can you blame me for this? Also, when did I agree to become your shitty princess? Hard fist, hardest than ever. She was just one step away from mastering the ultimate secret of boxing. Pushinan, you are really down. She couldn't bear it anymore. Shihoin Yoruchi stepped on the ground. Her body flew into the air and then disappeared in an instant. When she appeared again, she was already dressed. Now Shihoin Yoruchi was still wearing the Black Death suit used by the Shing army. The overall look is a one-piece tight combat suit with a halter neck top and a dense bandage wrapped around the right arm. At this time, Shihoin Yoruchi, with purple hair and ears, was staring at Uehara Shiraha with a pair of golden pupils. Uehara Shiraha, who was feasting his eyes again, smiled slightly. Why? Do you want to dance too? Before he finished speaking, Shihoin Yoruchi's figure blurred and then disappeared. Uehara Shiraha immediately turned his head to the right. Flash Goddess Yoruchi, it really lives up to his reputation. Although he couldn't see Shihoin Yoruchi's movements clearly, after Shirkai splitting void, Uehara Shiraha had a strong spatial perception ability. Therefore, Uehara Shiraha could accurately lock Shihoin Yoruchi's position at any time. On the other side, Shihoin Yoruchi's body recondensed. It's really an amazing ability. Even if you can't react, you can still start it. The former captain of the 2nd Division looked a little solemn. Just listening to Uehara Kisuke and the other's description, there's no way to experience this feeling of powerlessness and weirdness. Just now, Shihoin Yoruchi almost burst out at the fastest speed, so fast that it even exceeded the perception of spiritual perception. When the opponent was unaware, her full-strength attack went straight through the opponent's body, as if hitting a ball of air. Uehara Shiraha just smiled slightly, not taking this compliment to heart at all. Without hesitation, Shihoin Yoruchi performed super fast Shunpa again, flying and attacking repeatedly. In an instant, it seemed that several Shihoin Yoruchi appeared around Uehara Shiraha, and each Shihoin Yoruchi hit Uehara Shiraha's vital points with a collapse point, move similar to acupuncture. Muda muda muda. Uehara Shiraha put his hands on his waist, his knees pushed forward, and his body leaned back slightly, looking like Dio. At the same time, even in a hollow state, he calmly controlled the shadow clone in the space to cast a horse spell on himself. He didn't forget how the 4th Aizen disappeared. Aizen, who had integrated the perfect Jayaku, should be immortal and infinitely evolve. But because he was too reckless and gave up the way of hiding, he was touched by Uehara Kisuke, planted with the kid mark, and was sealed. Uehara Shiraha would not make such a mistake. Without any surprise, Shihoin Yoruchi made an attack that the naked eye could not keep up with, and hit. The 4 elements are empty. She turned over nimbly, and her slender legs stood firmly on the ground. Chapter 16. Growing death gloves at the moment Shihoin Yoruchi landed, Uehara Shiraha immediately turned around and asked in surprise, "Did you do anything just now?" Shihoin Yoruchi looked even more serious and murmured, "Is it an illusion?" She quickly shook her head and denied the idea. If it was an illusion, the opponent would not be able to lock her position at the first time every time. A simple illusion would never be able to do this. Shihoin Uruchi, who was helpless, did not get discouraged at all, but suddenly raised her eyebrows and showed an aggressive smile. I haven't met a guy like you for a long time. It's really interesting. After that, the Ryatsu in her whole body began to condense and compress. Uehara Shiraha shook her head. It's really a poor way to provoke, but it's okay. Let you see the God-given weapon of our Tsutsuki family. After that, he took out a pair of ordinary gloves and put them on his hands. Death gloves, level, D-level, growth item type. Extraordinary item ability. Absorb Ryatsu and transform it into flexible flames. Confuse spiritual energy and spirit particles to evolve, thereby unlocking advanced mode, currently in normal mode. Introduction. 1. Also known as the X-Gloves, the extraordinary item in the world of Katekyo Hitman Reborn, is the exclusive weapon of the 10th generation Vongala leader Sawada Tsuneyoshi and was bred by the pet of the Tutor Reborn. 2. Obtained after completing Special Mission 2, joining the Mouse Spiritual Academy. 3. This is just a pair of ordinary gloves and woolen gloves. The 10th generation Vongala leader shouted in despair. The reason why the Death Gloves is a D-level item is that these gloves are ordinary gloves without extraordinary energy blessing and have no combat power. But with the blessing of Ryatsu, it will have good actual combat ability. And it also has a certain growth potential, which is also a good item. Looking at the dead gloves on Uehara Shiraha's hands, Shihoin Uruchi laughed cheerfully. What? This is just a pair of ordinary gloves and woolen gloves. You call this thing a God-given weapon. How much do you look down on me, the head of the God-given weaponry fan? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? As one of the 5 oldest nobles in Seoul society, the Shihoin family has many God-given weapons, so it is called God-given weapons fan. Uehara Shiraha used the so-called God-given weapons to fight her, which was just a show of skill before an expert. Uehara Shiraha just smiled lightly, and the Ryatsu in her hand condensed, and the gloves in her hand immediately emitted a dazzling light. In an instant, the original woolen gloves turned into shiny steel gloves. There were big D engraved on the gloves on the right hand. The next second, Uehara Shiraha's figure suddenly disappeared. Seeing the strange changes in the gloves, Shihoin Uruchi was still a little shocked. But when she saw Uehara Shiraha Shunpa coming towards her, she smiled easily. I won't lose to anyone in hide and seek, and your attack line is too obvious. I can see it clearly. After saying that, Shihoin Uruchi pushed forward with his right hand, and the fist wind condensed by Kid burst out. Lightning strike. The terrifying lightning spirit power enveloped the front area, and wherever it passed, lightning flashed everywhere, and even the air was penetrated. After Shuinpa, Shinigami can only move in a straight line, so the opponent can't dodge this attack. However, Shihoin Uruchi's pupils shrank immediately, and before the lightning arrived, the figure in front of her suddenly disappeared. She pushed her straight and strong legs hard on the ground, turned around, and kicked instantly, but there was no one behind her. At this time, Shihoin Uruchi realized that something was wrong, and there was a burning momentum coming down from the sky. At the critical moment, she exerted force on her waist and abdomen and quickly leaned back. She narrowly avoided the attack from the sky. At the same time, Uehara Shiraha, who was upside down in the air, suddenly disappeared again, and Shunpa disappeared into the distance. Uehara Shiraha, standing in the air, looked down at Shihoin Uruchi and smiled. How about my palm technique that fell from the sky? Shihoin Uruchi looked at the charred palm print on the ground with a surprised face. Ryatsu turned into flames? And why is this Shunpa so weird? Then she looked up at Uehara Shiraha in the sky with a sharp light. Her eyes fell on the gloves that had changed drastically, and she thought to herself, his Zampakit ability is definitely not fire, so it must be the gloves that are causing trouble. Such equipment can never appear out of thin air. Is there really a Tsutsuki family? What kind of king can this guy really become? Is it really possible that I am his king? Impossible. The last one is impossible. At this time, Uehara Shiraha in the sky did not forget to spit trash talk. What's wrong? Why did you hesitate? Aren't you confident in your speed? Flash Goddess Yoruchi-san. As soon as he finished speaking, Flash Goddess Yoruchi on the ground had disappeared. The moment the opponent disappeared, Uehara Shiraha tilted his head and punched him in the face, messing up his hair. Without hesitation, Uehara Shiraha waved his right hand in front of him, and an invisible flower of fire bloomed. It seemed that Shihoin Yoruchi had been completely enveloped by the flames, but the next moment, the opponent had disappeared. Flash Goddess Yoruchi's Shuinpa is faster than fire. Then, every time Uehara Shiraha thought he could hit the opponent, he hit nothing. He didn't care about this. In a short time, the two fought for more than a dozen rounds, and the speed was so fast that even the Vice Captain Shinigami couldn't see the movements clearly. At this time, Shihoin Yoruchi had almost used all his strength, but he couldn't take down the strange enemy in front of him. On the one hand, the opponent can use the flames spewed by the gloves to change the movement trajectory and expand the attack range. On the other hand, no matter how fast her movements are, the opponent can always react in time, even if he can't see or feel it. This guy is really weird to the extreme. Just like Aizen, his mind and strength are unfathomable. At this moment, Uehara Shiraha, who was fighting at high speed, even had the energy to comment. Beautiful Shuinpa. Although it is said that speed is power, cats, no matter how flexible and fast they are, can only catch some small fish and shrimps. This is actually not wrong. Although Shihoin Yoruchi was born into one of the 5 noble families, he did not have the accumulation of those 1,000-year-old captains, nor did he have the talent of those wall-hanging ones. Although Yoruchi is very fast, in the Shinigami world, all those fancy tricks are useless. Only those who are strong in Ryatsu are really strong, or have the ability to be a rogue. So throughout the entire Shinigami, Yoruchi has no outstanding record except for bullying weaklings. Chapter 17, The Angry Kitten Facing Uehara Shiraha's Teasing. Shihoin Yoruchi raised his eyebrows with a smug look on his face. Not only small fish and shrimp, but also mice hiding and hiding. Why have you been avoiding my attacks since just now? Your ability is so convenient. Why don't you continue to use it? The answer is obvious. You can't use that weird ability when you attack. So the smart little cat caught you. After saying that, she pulled the magic weapon bandage in her hand. At this time, Uehara Shiraha found that the bandage on the opponent's right arm had been extended without knowing when. This is not the key. The key is that the other end of the bandage will be firmly bound to his body. An invisible force sealed his Ryatsu. Impossible. When exactly? Uehara Shiraha was shocked. Shihoin Yoruchi said coldly, "Your ability has been sealed by me. Stop it. Tsutsuki Naruto, you have nothing to do." Uehara Shiraha lowered her head in frustration, her shoulders trembling slightly. Maybe it is true. My eyes are blind. My princess betrayed me, and even my ability has been sealed. Arrogance is indeed a terrible thing, especially when you are convinced of your special talents. Are you comforting yourself? No. Shihoin Yoruchi suddenly reacted, waved his right arm, and the captain-level white hits immediately bombarded Uehara Shiraha's head. With a bang, Uehara Shiraha, who was bound by the magic weapon, suddenly disappeared, leaving only a pair of ordinary-looking woolen gloves. Seeing this extremely weird scene, Shihoin Yoruchi was almost scared to scream. She bounced several times in the air and instantly came to the vicinity of the killing stone, with her back against the wall, her face full of vigilance. Seeing Shihoin Yoruchi's furious appearance, Uehara Shiraha secretly felt sorry. It's a pity that there is no camera, otherwise this scene would be very memorable. In the battle just now, Shadow Clone was fighting from the beginning of the active attack. Having given weaponry plus Doryman, who knows what strange things Shihoin Yoruchi will take out. So Uehara Shiraha certainly can't fight Shihoin Yoruchi in person. Anyway, Shadow Clone is not afraid of death and can also gain combat experience. Uehara Shiraha has been cautious all his life. Watch out, Aizen. This is how to use the way of hiding. You're not good enough. Next, Uehara Shiraha smiled evilly and looked at Shihoin Yuruchi like a poor little cat, moving slowly out step by step along the wall. Before leaving, Shihoin Yuruchi also grabbed a big bag. Uehara Shiraha wanted to stop him as soon as he saw it. That's his stuff? How could he let Shihoin Yuruchi take it away? After all, this base already belongs to him, Uehara Shiraha, and everything here belongs to him. However, in order to play the long game, Uehara Shiraha still endured it. After Shihoin Yuruchi fled away, Uehara Shiraha picked up the dead air gloves that fell on the ground and walked around the base. After walking around, he said to himself, "The remaining equipment, barriers, and other facilities alone are worth more than 1,000,000,000 rings. No wonder everyone wants to be the captain. It's too easy to make money. You deserve to be robbed when you make so much money without asking me." Uehara Shiraha picked up this base with a clear conscience. Then, after fiddling around in the space for a while, Uehara Shiraha took out a small flag and stuck it in the ground. The flag has the same skull as the Straw Hat Pirates. There is a line of small words under the skull. Tsutsuki family private territory. Trespassers will be fined 200 million. After doing all this, Uehara Shiraha clapped his hands, glanced at the base he had just obtained, and nodded with satisfaction. This night was really fruitful. He picked up a high-level secret base for free and also got a beautiful female sparring partner. It was a great deal. The next day, Uehara Shiraha woke up early, looking happy. With the secret base, it was much easier for him to move. In addition, he also had the opportunity to contact Shihoin Yuruchi and Uehara Kisuk. These two people have a lot of good things in their hands. Uehara Shiraha is ready to get them all. This day is really getting more and more promising. He habitually opened the daily task. Fishing, daily task. Today the weather is sunny and the breeze is gentle. You decide to pick up your beloved small fishing rod and go to the river pond to fish. Reward, random attribute 2. This mission is also considered an old acquaintance. Uehara Shiraha's high-end fishing gear is prepared for this mission. Then, while other soldiers of the 1st Division were training hard, Uehara Shiraha wore a bamboo hat and carried a fishing rod and quietly walked towards Rukongai. The reason why he went to Rukongai was just because the fish there were wilder, and it was definitely not for the convenience of kid frying fish without anyone noticing. This time, Uehara Shiraha went through the Kuroro Gate, which is the north gate of Siriidi. It is also the closest gate to the 1st Division, and the 1st Division is usually responsible for suppressing it. When passing here, Uehara Shiraha was actually a little emotional. In more than 100 years, Yuhabak will stage a king's return and lead the Invisible Empire to invade Siriidi again. It was at this Kuroro Gate that Shur Sasakai, the god-level 6th, was the first to be killed, and his Bankai was robbed. In a 1,000-year bloody battle that followed, Siriidi was like a sea of hell, with lives lost and blood flowing like a river. Thinking of the tragedy, Uehara Shiraha clenched his fists. Old man Sasakai is so old. It's a happy funeral when he passes away. This red light district can't be destroyed. At that time, he can stage a hero saving a beauty. As for now, he should hurry up and fish. It's too late, the fish won't come out. Just thinking about it, Tu Hung Ha Air Jiang appeared in front of Uehara Shiraha. The two were one tall and one short, wearing black death suits, with cold smiles on their faces. One was more than 2 meters tall, carrying a long sword, a big bald head, narrow eyes, and red eyeshadow. The other was dressed like a noble young master, with some fancy little pendants hanging on the death suit, almost like Pinru's clothes. Uehara Shiraha recognized the two at a glance. Madarame Ikaku and Ayasegawa Yumachika of the 11th Division. When he saw Uehara Shiraha wearing a bamboo hat, Madarame Ikaku's smile became even more ferocious, and his eyes flashed with excitement. Yumachika, I said I could catch up. Hey, boy over there, are you Uehara Shiraha, the 7th seed of the first team? Huh? How do you know that I caught a big fish weighing 30 kilograms last time? Uehara Shiraha looked up, puzzled. Madarame Ikaku was stunned for a moment, looked back at Ayasegawa Yumachika, scratched his head and said, "Did I say something wrong? Or is there something wrong with his ears?" Ayasegawa Yumachika glanced at Uehara Shiraha, smiled disdainfully, and stepped forward and said, I am Ayasegawa Yumachika, the 5th seat of the 11th team, and he is Madarame Ikaku, the 3rd seat of the 11th team. Uehara Shiraha, it's not beautiful to fool us like this. What's the matter? Uehara Shiraha. What's the matter? Chapter 18 Uzampicut is the most useless in front of the Kororo Gate. Looking at the 2 tough guys from the 11th Division who were about to emit black air, Uehara Shiraha suddenly laughed. Don't be so serious. It's just a joke. What do you want from me? Madarame Ikaku took a step forward, his tall body full of oppression. The original reason was to vent the anger for that idiot Aramaki Makizo. Because of you, he is still lying in the 4th Division barracks and crying. But of course, those are all excuses. A waste like that can only blame himself for what happened. The reason we came to you is simple. That is, to defeat you, to prove that Captain Zaraki is the strongest. Yes, beating you, a genius from the 1st Division, proves that our 11th Division is the strongest division. Ayasegawa Yumachika echoed from the side. Uehara Shiraha said seriously, I think it's better to be realistic. You should challenge Aizen, the captain of the 5th Division, first. After you defeat him, it won't be too late for you to defeat me. When the time comes, I will believe you even if you say that Captain Zaraki will lead the 11th Division to the moon. Are you saying that you are stronger than the captain? Madarame Ikaku was too lazy to talk nonsense and directly drew out the long sword. Then, he held the scabbard and the long sword together. Stretch it out, Zukumaru. As soon as the voice fell, his whole body suddenly became stronger, and the long sword in his hand instantly turned into a spear. Other than that, there seemed to be no other changes. Glancing at the opponent's Zukumaru, Uehara Shiraha thought to himself, it has to be you, Zukumaru. Shirkai was smashed by a rookie Shinigami. Bankai was useless except for becoming larger and adding a debuff that could not be repaired, and then was destroyed by Espada. It's so lame, comparable to the old man stand-in. This bald guy hit Bankai because he was afraid of being transferred or afraid of being embarrassed. What's the matter? Are you afraid? Seeing Uehara Shiraha silent, Ayasegawa Yumachika looked proud. I want to remind you that although Ikaku is only a 3rd seed, our 11th Division is a combat division. Among the officers of the same level, we are the strongest. Although your beauty is not inferior to mine, a greenhouse flower like you is destined to not last long. It's a pity for a genius to wither. Oh hee. After saying that, this guy covered his mouth and laughed coquettishly. Madarame Ikaku also smiled evilly, raised Zukumaru and pointed it at Uehara Shiraha, and said confidently, Don't worry, it will be over soon and won't take up too much of your time. Thank you very much. After saying that, Uehara Shiraha put his right hand on the handle of the splitting void at his waist and took a step forward. Madarame Ikaku's narrow eyes, which were somewhat charming, slightly narrowed in thought. Here it comes. But the speed is very slow. The genius of the 1st team is only this level. Before the thought came up, he had already stabbed out with a spear a little cold light as fast as lightning. Ayasegawa Yumachika also shook his head repeatedly and said, Facing Ikaku, he dared not to draw his sword or shirkai. It's not like this. It's really an ugly battle. However, Madarame Ikaku's spear, as fast as lightning, stabbed into the air. Both of them were stunned. Where is the person? At this time, Uehara Shiraha appeared behind Madarame Ikaku. He held the fishing rod in his left hand, and his right hand was slowly loosening its grip on the knife handle. He said softly, White Season, frozen space-time capsule. What? Madarame Ikaku felt a chill for no apparent reason, and when he looked down, a circle of white lines spread rapidly from his feet. Soon, a huge ice block in the shape of a capsule completely wrapped Madarame Ikaku. Ayasegawa Yumachika was stunned. Her expression was like a dog, and she had completely forgotten the so-called beautiful posture that she had worked hard to maintain. Ignoring Yumachika's confused face, Uehara Shiraha raised the fishing rod and knocked on Madarame Ikaku's frozen forehead a few times. Bang, bang, bang. Ding. Merit +1. Uehara Shiraha nodded with satisfaction. It really didn't take me too long. A real man really keeps his word. In Buddhism, people cut meat to feed eagles. Isn't this a coincidence? I'm just about to make a nest. Do you want to sacrifice yourself to feed the fish? I promise you will turn back and become a Buddha right away. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your consent, right? Yamachika was even more annoyed when he heard this. He fell into the water to feed the fish, but he didn't turn back and become a Buddha right away. Although he knew that Uehara Shiraha was probably joking, the scene in front of him was too shocking. Therefore, Uehara Yamachika directly shook Zampiket and said sternly, Uehara Shichiki, we were too loud just now. Please unlock your ability. I thought you would like it. Madarame Mikaku is more beautiful now than before. After saying that, Uehara Shiraha took a step forward. Before Uehara Yamachika could react, Uehara Shiraha had already shunpoed to a very far distance. Then, the ice on Madarame Ikaku suddenly broke and turned into clear water. After thawing, Madarame Ikaku coughed loudly and said, Really? The rumor is true. This is the white season, and like Captain Zaraki, they are all permanent shirkai. The only thing Madarame Ikaku, who fought in person, could be sure of was that the opponent did not have Shirkai Zampiket, but he did use the Zampiket ability. It turns out that we have always been frogs in the well, which is really not beautiful at all. Looking at Uehara Shiraha, who was about to disappear, Uehara Yamachika was still frightened and shocked. Zaraki Kinpachi, permanent Shirkai. In the distance, Uehara Shiraha shook his head and chuckled. As expected, admiration is the farthest feeling from understanding. You admire Zaraki Kinpachi so much, but you don't understand him at all. Admiration is the farthest feeling from understanding. Aizen, who came to rescue from a distance, happened to hear this sentence, and his body paused slightly, and his expression became a little subtle. Just now, he sensed a vice-captain level Ryatsu reaction here. As the captain of the team, Aizen naturally had the obligation to come and check, and happened to hear this very resonant sentence. The next moment, Aizen's expression returned to normal, and a Shuinpa came to Uehara Shiraha. Uehara Shiraha, what happened just now? Uehara Shiraha looked back at Aizen wearing a white haori, with a little more surprise in his eyes, thinking to himself, building a persona during the day and playing to death at night. This man really has no nightlife at all. I'm not afraid that the nerd is smarter than you. I'm afraid that the nerd is more self-disciplined than you. Sigma man, so scary. He secretly complained in his heart, but Uehara Shiraha said, as if he was smeared with honey, It's Captain Aizen, just a friendly exchange between colleagues. Captain Aizen is really dedicated. The Captain General chose you as the captain, which is the most wise decision he has made. Aizen smiled at Bayu's praise and said in a gentle voice, No, I'm just lucky to be the captain. The future will definitely belong to geniuses like Uehara Shiraha. Chapter 19. Captain Shuinpa. The corrupt Suifeng Uehara Shiraha didn't want to spend too much time with Aizen. He knew that Aizen had noticed his look and had some idea. As a histrionic personality and a perfectionist, Aizen's control over details is unparalleled. Otherwise, he couldn't have used Kaika Suigetsu to perfection and made everyone go around with just a knife. You have to know that Kaika Suigetsu only controls the 5 senses of others. Directly changing cognition is the job of Hirako Zampiket, reverse caress. Therefore, when using Kaika Suigetsu, you need to adjust the parameters yourself to make it look real. Aizen can make every detail perfect. This is Aizen. After a few casual words, Uehara Shiraha picked up the fishing rod and smiled at Aizen. Thank you for your trouble. If you catch a big fish later, I will give you a snack. After that, Uehara Shiraha turned around and left, humming the melody of Big Fish and Begonia. Aizen smiled slightly as he watched Uehara Shiraha leave. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes, but it was gone in a flash. After arriving in Rukongai, Uehara Shiraha's steps became lighter. Along the way, Uehara Shiraha walked quickly and soon arrived in the wilderness of the 12th district of North Rukongai. This is a good place, sparsely populated, but with many resources. Soon, Uehara Shiraha sat on a boulder and cast a fishing line into the lake below. While he was enjoying the fun of fishing leisurely, he opened the character panel. Name, Uehara Shiraha. Position, 7th seat of the 1st Squad Ryatsu. 3rd class spiritual power, captain level, Zampiket. Splitting Void, Shurkai. Zampiket. Vice captain level White Hits. Senior officer level Kid. Captain level Shumpa. Captain level abilities. 1. Shadow Clone Technique, B-class ability, Mastery 2. Stand, White Album, S-class ability, Grandmaster 3. Breathing Technique, Sun Breathing, B-class ability, Proficiency. Items. 1. Disguise Glasses, B-class item, Kryptonian Creation 2. 5. Thunder Curse, C-class item, Cultivation Talisman 3. Death Gloves, D-class item, Extraordinary Creation 4. Horse Charm, A-class item, Magic Creation. Shumpa has actually been promoted. It seems that Yoruchi is a qualified sparring partner. I didn't expect that fighting with strong people would be so effective in improving my strength. Although my Shumpa had almost reached the critical point, if I hadn't fought with Yoruchi, it would take at least a few months for Shumpa to become a regular. Alas, alcohol and SX are harmful to people, and I have wasted too many opportunities to become stronger. From today on, I will quit drinking. To celebrate quitting drinking, I will go to the Flower Street to have a drink at night. So I decided happily. After closing the character panel, Uehara Shiraha then opened the task log panel in the task panel. First is the summary log of daily tasks. As of yesterday, a total of 7,251 daily tasks have been completed, and a total of 14,502 random attribute points have been awarded. Then there is the summary of special tasks. 1. Complete Special Task 1. Visit Rukongai and reward Shadow Clone B-level ability. 2. Complete Special Mission 2. Join the Shirnu Spiritual Academy and get Death Gloves D-level item. 3. Complete Special Mission 3. Get the Sealed State and get Stand-in White Album S-level ability. 4. Complete Special Mission 4. Blade Zen Practice. Talk to the Sword and get 5 Thunder Curse C-level item. 5. Complete Special Mission 5. Graduate as the top student and join Godei 13 and get Disguise Glasses B-level item. 6. Complete Special Mission 6. Become famous in the first team and get Breathing of the Sun B-level ability. 7. Complete Special Mission 7. Witness the Birth of Visored and get Horse Charm, a level item. Looking at the full reward of the mission, Uehara Shiraha was very satisfied because this was all the territory he had built. But half a day later, his face became more and more ugly. Where's the fish? Where's my fish? Just when Uehara Shiraha was thinking about something, when Kid was more environmentally friendly and pollution-free, a roar suddenly appeared on the distant mountain. At the same time, he felt a booming Ryatsu. I knew it was not because of poor skills, but someone was messing with it. Uehara Shiraha's eyes lit up. Then, he put away the fishing rod and prepared to find that person to ask for an explanation. Not long after Uehara Shiraha left the fishing place, the system prompt came. Ding! Congratulations on completing the daily task fishing. Reward White Hits +1. Cut +1. Uehara Shiraha nodded with satisfaction, thinking to himself, this is not a caught attribute point. I am not an Air Force. After that, he disappeared on the spot with a Shumpa. When he came to the top of the mountain, Uehara Shiraha saw a girl Shinigami who was madly outputting to a boulder. Why? Why abandon me? I will definitely become a qualified captain and prove that abandoning me is your most wrong decision. You will regret it. The girl was wearing the same clothes as Shoin Yoruchi's death suit is similar, but she only has a white captain's haori wrapped around her shoulders and chest. But even without it, you can't see any curves. This small, plain-looking girl is Suifeng, the new captain of the 2nd Division. Hearing Suifeng's bullied little wife muttering, Uehara Shiraha couldn't help but laugh. Who? The moment she heard the voice, Suifeng immediately became alert. Then she saw Uehara Shiraha in the death suit. Her eyes became dangerous, and she said in a cold voice, "Did you hear everything just now?" "I didn't hear it. My ears are not good. I can't hear it if you don't believe it," asked the bald guy in the 10th Division. Uehara Shiraha quietly moved back. "It's okay to watch the fun, but it's not good to get yourself involved. Although Sui Feng looks easy to deceive, it's hard to get away if you get involved." Sui Feng's face turned black, and the whole person disappeared in an instant. "Nice ball." Uehara Shiraha reacted in time, directly pulled out Splitting Void, and swung it forward. "How could you react so quickly?" Facing the unknown Zampicut, Sui Feng quickly retreated, and then her pupils shrank. A layer of white frost had already condensed in the area in front of her. A force of extreme cold was spreading over. As if she remembered something, Sui Feng said solemnly, "Permanent Shirkai, frozen Zampicut. You are Uehara Shiraha, the 7th seat of the first team." "That scumbag." "Yes, it's me, Uehara Shiraha." Uehara Shiraha looked proud. "Captain Sui Feng, I am a genius favored by the captain-in-chief. Even you can't really kill me, right? I will soon take charge of the Shing army and the secret mobile team. What crime do you want? I will write it for you right away." Sui Feng's palm-sized face was full of the word cold. It's not necessarily to kill him, but it's still okay to give him physical amnesia. Chapter 20. Helpless Sui Feng, haggard Kairaka Shunsui, facing the aggressive Sui Feng. Uehara Shiraha sighed. "As expected of Captain Sui Feng, your heart is more poisonous than a wasp's sting." Then his eyes became sharp. "In this case, I have to fight. Betting on the name of Captain Yamamoto of the first team, I must survive from your hands." Hearing Uehara Shiraha's useless words, Sui Feng's eyes flashed with disdain. "That's it?" Uehara Shiraha paused and continued. "Then spread the news that you secretly love the wanted criminal Shihoin Yoruchi throughout the Siriidi. You damn it." Sui Feng's heart clicked, and the whole person was numb. And then he was furious, and his eyes were almost glowing red. At this moment, how she wished that her Zampicut was Raijin Jaka. In that case, she could burn the BD in front of her to ashes. Without any hesitation, Sui Feng held the knife in her right hand and directly Shirkai Zampicut. "Kill all enemies. Suzumabachi." Instantly, a long golden blade like a bee's sting appeared on the middle finger of her right hand. At the same time, the murderous intent that seemed to be substantial, accompanied by a powerful Ryatsu, enveloped Uehara Shiraha. Looking at this young version of Rong Mama, Uehara Shiraha cursed in her heart. "It seems that you have played a little too much. Tut-tut. It's really funny. Now that Sundara has become a Yandere." He did not hesitate, and directly Shuimpa fled. Sui Feng sneered. "Showing off Shuimpa in front of the secret mobile team and the elite of the Shing army is ridiculous." However, she soon stopped laughing, because this Uehara Shiraha is really fast, and the other party seems to know her Shuimpa habits and can dodge in time every time. So, the two of them chased in the jungle in Rukongai, one in front and one behind. "Aren't you afraid of the cold?" Uehara Shiraha was also a little confused. Is it because of the loss of love? The heart is frozen, and it has become a cold-blooded animal. During this journey, he used the ability of the White Album to freeze the opponent, but it turned out to be useless. Sui Feng gritted her teeth, and her speed was even faster. If she hadn't had a little bit of rationality left, and the opponent was too fast, she would have wanted to blow the opponent to pieces directly with Bankai. Then, the two passed each other. Uehara Shiraha had another B pattern on his shoulder. In fact, it was a butterfly-like black pattern. If the position with the B pattern was hit by Suzumabachi again, it would be a sure kill. 2 hits to kill. This is the ability of Sui Feng's Zampicut. But this thing sounds bluffing. It seems that no one has been hit in the whole drama. The only time he hit, he also sacrificed himself to raise Aizen's status, making the opponent say the classic line, "The battle of Shinigami is the battle of Ryatsu." Therefore, after being hit, Uehara Shiraha didn't care, but carefully observed Sui Feng's body. At this time, he noticed that the opponent's whole body was covered with a layer of condensed Ryatsu. Under the protection of this layer of Ryatsu, Sui Feng was not affected by the freezing power. I see. This is the deep development of high-density Ryatsu, which should be the prototype of Shunjin. Uehara Shiraha nodded. In the Shinigami world, Ryatsu and the body are the foundation. The higher the panel, the stronger the ability resistance, the stronger the ability. Therefore, Suifeng can rely on the tempered body and powerful Ryatsu to withstand the ability of the Stand White album. But this is not completely without side effects. On the one hand, affected by the cold, Suifeng's movements became much slower. On the other hand, her Ryatsu was consumed quickly. Thinking of this, Uehara Shiraha's heart moved, and he began to pretend to be exhausted, with sweat oozing out of his forehead. This guy is sweating. He must be almost at his limit. Suifeng also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She is the captain. No matter how good a seventh seat in the first team is, she can't beat him in Ryatsu. Thinking of this, Suifeng slowed down and decided to fight a war of attrition to wear this BD out. Soon, in Suifeng's perception, Uehara Shiraha's Ryatsu was almost exhausted, and his breathing became heavier. It was obvious that he was exhausted. Suifeng had already begun to imagine the pleasant scene of torturing Uehara Shiraha. 5 minutes later, Uehara Shiraha was panting like an old cow. His body was even more shaky, and his energy was exhausted. Suifeng was more convinced that his tactics were correct. 10 minutes later, Uehara Shiraha's face turned pale, he was shaky, and his energy was exhausted. 15 minutes later, Uehara Shiraha was shaky, and his energy was exhausted. You liar. You're exhausted. Suifeng was furious. He chased from District 12 to District 1. This guy's Ryatsu was not only not completely consumed, but even more. Shameless. Suddenly, Suifeng reacted. District 1 bad. Murder. The captain of the 2nd Division is going to kill to silence people. Captain Aizen, come quickly. Uehara Shiraha yelled in front of the Black Prism Gate. While yelling, he quickly passed through the Black Prism Gate. Finally, Uehara Shiraha did not forget to hit a ice ball to seal the gate. I saw a black shadow flash, and Suifeng, wearing a white Haori, had passed through the Black Prism Gate and came to Siriidii. Behind her, the ice that was broken into ice crystals was slowly falling, reflecting a strange light. Looking at Uehara Shiraha, who disappeared in a flash, Suifeng's face was cold, and the murderous aura in her eyes seemed to be able to burn everything. The front was the territory of the 1st Division. No matter what, she couldn't continue chase. As a captain, he couldn't do anything with a mere 7th seat. What a shame. Just after Uehara Shiraha returned to Siriidii, an outrageous piece of news spread like wildfire. Have you heard? That Uehara Shiraha was chased and hacked all the way because he flirted with the captain of the 2nd team, Suifeng. I heard that Uehara Shiraha abandoned Captain Suifeng after having an affair with him. What? She got pregnant on the Flower Street. Listening to these weird remarks, Uehara Shiraha cursed in his heart. FK, I haven't spread the rumor yet, but I've become the protagonist of the rumor. Isn't this bullying an honest person? Now, he and Suifeng have a feud, but with the support of the 1st team, Uehara Shiraha is not worried at all. This is why he joined the 1st team. Mr. Yamamoto is in such good health. What can't he take the blame for? Uehara Shiraha had just arrived at the winery he often visited when he heard a frivolous and lazy voice. Hey, isn't this Captain's wife, Uehara Shiraha? Will we drink your wedding wine? Uehara Shiraha looked up and saw Kayarako Shunsui, who was wearing a flashy outfit and a bamboo hat, winking at him. However, he noticed that the guy had dark circles under his eyes. So, Uehara Shiraha smiled slightly. Last night when I passed by Keiko's room, I heard you shouting, "I'm not like this normally. You have to believe me," and so on. You've been really hard during this period, Kayarako Shunsui. Several beautiful geishas with gentle temperament and knowledgeable manners beside him couldn't help but smile when they heard this. Chapter 21, Asenao wants to become stronger regarding the dignity of a man. Kayarako Shunsui quickly denied it 3 times. No, I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. The most beautiful woman next to him comforted Kayarako Shunsui and glared at the geisha girls who couldn't help laughing. Okay, stop denying it. Drink it, brother Kairaku. As soon as Uehara Shiraha sat down, several beautiful girls immediately came up to him and happily poured wine and tea. Kairaku Shunsui had a bitter face, but after a few glasses of wine, his mood improved. For a while, the usual joyful atmosphere was restored. The time of joy is always so short. At this time, Uehara Shiraha, who was in the sage state, found Kairaku Shunsui again and saw that he was concentrating on thinking. There were no girls around to serve. Why are you worried? Uehara Shiraha casually placed a kid barrier to block sound. Do you still think that the culprit of the hollow incident is someone else? Do you have any clues? Kairaku Shunsui casually replied. There is a suspect, but it should be impossible. The person is still imprisoned. At this point, Kairaku Shunsui changed the subject and said, just know about this, don't tell others. As a Zampicate of the same illusion type, reverse caress is very sensitive to the power of Kaika Sujetsu. So the moment Hirako Shinji found that reverse caress became very active, he was sure that Aizen had a problem. Kairaku Shunsui just had such a feeling, without any evidence to support it. So he couldn't take any action. Therefore, Kairaku Shunsui told Uehara Shiraha like this. I understand. Uehara Shiraha shrugged. After he knew it, Aizen would rely on realistic acting to dispel Kairaku Shunsui's suspicion. Then when the Takaraku invaded, Kairaku Shunsui set his sights on Tsunyashiro Tokunada. Uehara Shiraha had no idea about Tsunyashiro Tokunada, the trashy boss. However, he was a little interested in the Tsunyashiro family's heirloom artifact, the Kagami no Ori. In the wooden room filled with an intoxicating aroma, Uehara Shiraha picked up a glass of sake and drank it all. The sake tasted as clear as boiled water, but it was endless aftertaste. Instantly, the sweet and mellow spirits flowed into Uehara Shiraha's throat and stomach. Such a bottle of spirit wine is worth $1 million. Ordinary civilians can't afford it. Drinking a glass will burn through the body and be cremated on the spot. This is a fine wine that only high-ranking officials can enjoy. Looking at Uehara Shiraha, who seemed to be able to remain calm at any time, Kairaku Shunsui smiled at his deep eyes under his bamboo hat. Hey, brother Bayu, do you have any further ideas? Uehara Shiraha understood Kairaku Shinsui's meaning in an instant and replied, no thanks, I can't stand the noble's tricks, but when it's time to help, I won't refuse. It seems that the days of peace are coming to an end. This period of time is a calm period of storm is coming. But in fact, Siriidei has never been truly calm. It has always seemed calm, but undercurrents are surging. Don't worry, the old man, and I will protect you, cheers. Kairaku Shunsui laughed and raised his glass to invite him. For a long time, there is no happier than having one more close friend. Uehara Shiraha muttered, thank God if you don't cheat me. The next day, Uehara Shiraha was very tactful and stayed in the first team without going out. Suifeng probably sent all the Xing troops to keep an eye on him, so he should be honest now. It just so happens that today's daily tasks can be completed in the first team's dormitory. Uehara Shiraha, you are really busy all the time. Half a day later, Okiya Jinshiro looked at the abstract painting on the wall of the first team's headquarters building, and his blood pressure rose again. This painting has a high artistic content. Chijur Sasakaibe, who was full of silver hair, was not angry at all. While stroking his mustache, he smiled and admired Uehara Shiraha's masterpiece. How high? Can it be higher than my blood pressure? Vice Captain Sasakaibe. They're all old friends for thousands of years, and Okiya doesn't need to be polite to Sasakaibe. Look at this horse, it's white, black, tall, strong, and has 2 horns. What does that mean? It means it's a cow. Uehara Shiraha, who was strolling in the team house, suddenly heard someone shouting, Chonya-sansei and Vice Captain Sasakaibe are fighting. Go and see. He shook his head. With such a loose management system and unreliable leaders, how can Siriidei be governed well? Uehara Nansei. An old but majestic voice sounded from behind Uehara Shiraha. Uehara Shiraha was shocked and looked back hurriedly and saw a shiny bald head holding a pine, cane standing in front. This tall old man with his eyes closed and white beard dragging to his chest is the captain of the first team, Yamamoto Genrisai. At the same time, it is also the combat ceiling of pure Shinigami. Facing the big leader, the Uehara Shiraha did not dare to neglect and hurriedly said, "Report to the captain. After my inspection, the first squadron's dormitory is very safe and there is no hidden danger." "No, you are the hidden danger." The captain still closed his eyes, paused his cane, and gave an order, "Leave the dormitory and go somewhere else, and come back at night." "No, Captain, I care about the first squadron. Don't drive me away." Uehara Shiraha didn't expect that there would be a day when he couldn't work overtime. In front of the first squadron's dormitory, seeing that the old man was determined to keep him out, Uehara Shiraha shrugged his shoulders, and suddenly his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. After he disappeared, several sneaky figures in black immediately followed. However, it was only a short while, and Uehara Shiraha had arrived at the largest bookstore in Siriidii. He couldn't go to the Flower Street and the 8th Squadron for the time being, otherwise he would definitely be blocked. These people certainly couldn't imagine that their true identity was actually an intellectual who loved learning. Just like a certain Cleopatra, who reads a book after eating a small bread. The reason why Kazama stopped thinking is that he suffered from lack of education, isn't it? If he is as studious as Dio, he must know that water freezes in a vacuum. Coincidentally, Uehara Shiraha saw Ayase Nanao in the bookstore. However, Ayase Nanao today is different from usual. She is a little absent-minded when reading, and it is obvious that she is worried. Thinking of the haggard Kairaku Shunsui, Uehara Shiraha can only sigh that they are uncle and nephew, and they are very synchronized. He stepped forward and asked, "Little Nanao, what are you thinking about?" When seeing Uehara Shiraha, thinking of the outrageous rumors in the past 2 days, Ayase Nanao frowned slightly. But she immediately thought of something and relaxed her frown. "Uehara Nana, Shiraha-kun, can you teach me how to practice, kid? You are indeed quite talented in kid, but why are you so anxious all of a sudden?" Uehara Shiraha knows the future of Ayase Nanao. Don't look at it. Ayase Nanao is just a girl who has just graduated from Spiritual Arts Academy 2.5 years ago. But in the future, the kid barrier developed by Ayase Nanao alone can even trap Hazward, the second in command of the Invisible Empire. Therefore, Ayase Nanao was able to secure the position of vice captain of the 8th Division with just kid, and it was definitely not just a simple relationship. Chapter 22, Teaching the Glasses Girl, Ayase Nanao. I want to become stronger. I want to contribute to the 8th Division. Ayase Nanao set her heart with a firm face. Although Kairaku Shunsui did not point out the relationship between the two, the blood connection cannot be deceived, so Ayase Nanao knew that Kairaku Shunsui was her only relative in this world, and she hoped to repay the other party's care for so many years. At this moment, Uehara Shiraha received a system prompt. Ding! Congratulations, host triggered a special task. Help the poor and the needy. Help the girl. Help the poor and the needy. Help the girl. Special task 8. Since the host is a person who can't bear to see a beautiful girl living on the streets, a special task is issued. Help Ayase Nanao master the vice captain level kid. The task period is 3 months. Reward: random ability or props. Uehara Shiraha looked at Ayase Nanao with some surprise. This girl is a treasure. In such a short time, 2 special tasks were triggered on her. Could this be the legendary Little Red Hand? If she wasn't afraid of being beaten, Uehara Shiraha would have wanted to ask her good friend Kairaku Shunsui, "How much does this girl with glasses cost?" Noticing Uehara Shiraha's undisguised fiery gaze, Ayase Nanao shrank back, but she felt a little happy in her heart. Uehara Shiraha also knew that he was a little anxious, so he smiled and nodded. "I am a good friend of Kairaku, brother. You are his niece, which means you are my sister. So your business is my business." Although she didn't know how Uehara Shiraha came up with this inference, Ayase Nanao still thanked him gratefully. "Thank you, by June," although she had never seen Uehara Shiraha take action. But she had heard of Uehara Shiraha's genius for a long time. Besides, how could this man be weak if he could be so respected by his uncle? "Come with me." Uehara Shiraha would not be careless when it came to a special mission. The two of them came to the 8th Division's barracks one after the other. Here, Uehara Shiraha indeed discovered several barely detectable auras. These people are good at hiding, and they are obviously old Shinjuan, but unfortunately they can't hide from Uehara Shiraha. However, teaching Ayase Nanao is the most important thing now. In front of the special mission, other things have to be put on the back burner. After arriving at the kid training ground of the 8th Division, Uehara Shiraha looked at Ayase Nanao with expectation and said seriously, "If you think I will teach you advanced knowledge, such as kid number 90, then unfortunately, you will be disappointed. I will only teach you the most basic knowledge." After all, Ayase Nanao in front of him is not the calm and mature vice captain of the 8th Division in the future. Now she is just a girl who is slightly more mature than the big lowly, full of youthfulness, fresh and tender. No matter how much Ayase Nanao expects, Uehara Shiraha will not teach Ayase Nanao the advanced kid, because that will only harm her. Kid number 1 to number 99, Baekud, are just a tiny part of the vast kid inheritance. They were chosen as orthodox kid simply because they're the most cost-effective and stable. Kid above level 90 is no less powerful than ordinary Bankai moves. However, it is much more dangerous to use, and it is very taxing on the body in Ryatsu, and the chanting time is very long. It is generally only of practical value in the hands of kid masters. Therefore, Ayase Nanao currently does not have the conditions to use advanced kid, and learning it will only hinder her growth. I know. Ayase Nanao's voice was a little low. For the sake of the special mission, Uehara Shiraha patiently explained, "In fact, it is not that the higher the level of kid, the better. It depends on the person. As long as you have deep skills, a white thunder can kill people. If you don't have the skills, number 99 is just a firework. You have to understand that, kid. No. 1 to 99 is just the beginning of kid, not the end. For specific enemies and their own special attributes, developing special kid and barriers is the strongest kid. This is the magic of application stored in one heart, and it is better to specialize and reach the pinnacle than to be comprehensive. In any case, he would draw a big pie first. In fact, this is the path that Ayase Nanao will take in the future, and it is also the most suitable path for her. But this path is not for everyone. For example, knowledge such as top kid and unorthodox kid can only be inherited by large families, and ordinary civilian Shinigami have no way to learn it. As for the inner kid of the Zero Squad and the forbidden kid of the space-time system, even the captain-level Shinigami will find it difficult to learn. The magic of application lies in one's heart. Specialize in one point and reach the pinnacle. Ayase Nanao muttered to herself, and instantly had many insights and felt that she was going to grow a brain. Just a simple sentence made Ayase Nanao admire Uehara Shiraha and began to study with concentration. At the beginning of the class, Uehara Shiraha's content was indeed irrelevant to advanced kid, and there was not even any content about intermediate kid. Hearing that Uehara Shiraha was only talking about some basic content, Ayase Nanao was disappointed again. However, soon, a look of shock appeared on her face, and she said in a lost voice, "Is this basic kid? How come I have never heard of it? And I don't even understand it a little." At this time, the benefits of Uehara Shiraha's solid foundation were revealed. The reason why his Shuinpa was promoted to the captain level after fighting with Shihoin Yoruchi. On the one hand, it was because Shihoin Yoruchi was indeed a Shuinpa master, and he could learn a lot from fighting with her. On the other hand, it was because of accumulation. Uehara Shiraha's daily shadow clone, AFK, is not in vain. Other people's foundations are level with the ground, or slightly higher. His foundation is like a tall building, just like the great Yakitsu fist and the sword-drawing slash. The power system built on such a solid foundation is like a continuous mountain range, indestructible. Even an absolute genius like Aizen would be amazed by such a gorgeous and solid foundation. When teaching, Uehara Shiraha brought out this powerful basic ability. At first, Ayase Nanao thought that Uehara Shiraha's kid was not strong, and he was just pretending to be Grandmaster Kid in front of her, because what he taught was what she had already learned. Ayase Nanao had already mastered those things. Otherwise, she would not have become the chief officer of the 8th Division at such a young age. But later, she found out that she was wrong. She didn't master those things at all. She just thought she had mastered them. They were obviously things she had already learned, but when Uehara Shiraha said them, there was a refreshing feeling. Ayase Nanao seemed to have seen a new world, as if she had lived in vain in the past few years, and all the kid she had learned was wrong. It was obviously the same kid, the same theory. Why was there such a big difference? Ayase Nanao was of course shocked. The basic knowledge that Uehara Shiraha—
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.